so close. That's a draw. Oh no, the head strikes was a big difference. Man, my body. It just caused way more damage. 2 for 15. That was like man. You watch Ige versus Dan Ige. This was the last week fight. Dan Ige and that was like Cater.
Pull that mic a little closer to your mouth.
Hmm?
Pull that mic a little bit closer to your mouth.
Oh, yeah. Dan Ige and Calvin Cater. He was 0 for 9 on takedown. Tried 9 times. Stuff. All 9 times. And I had money on EA. I thought he was going to come out and smash him, but ended up losing by a long shot.
Hello, friends.
We're on here?
We're live.
Baby.
All right, so we've got 2/3 of the original DNA Podcast crew. The third member is busy cooking up my nephew.
as you shall say. Odell in the oven.
Odell Baker Patton.
Yeah. In the oven baking up.
All right, so the first time we recorded a podcast, it had been the first day our local town had gotten its first confirmed case of coronavirus, and here we are now 4 months later.
Yeah.
4 months later. And this is the first time we've had you and me on for the live podcast. Let's see, I'm going to turn these up a little bit.
It's been a while.
It's been a while, yeah. But we're going to start things off with last night's fight night. Did not expect anything from this card. You know, I didn't plan on it on really anything coming out of it, but there were some entertaining fights. Alexandre Pantoja, and Askar Askarov. I didn't really pay attention during that fight, but it was a good one.
Banger. Exciting fighters. Exciting fight.
And Askarov's now 12-0-1.
Yeah, exactly.
He won that, right? Yeah, he won that. 12-0-1. Then we had an interesting fight.
Females.
Lipsky and Carolina. I thought Carolina had a shot, not knowing either one of these two fighters.
Exactly.
She didn't have a chance.
At all.
Yeah, she
First round.
submitted first round with probably one of the more interesting, creative submissions we've seen in a while. We both don't think that she really knew that was coming.
She did not.
You know,
go back and look at a replay.
I think most experienced fighters would have known to do something, to be active right there.
She did not see it coming.
But to have full control of her foot like that, like something bad's coming.
Yeah.
Something's bad coming. When she's got full control, you can do nothing. Like, you're not in a position where you can slip out if things go bad.
Yeah, exactly.
And as soon as things went bad, it was over.
Game over.
Over.
It happened out of nowhere. She's like, oh shit, no.
Yeah.
It hurts.
Yeah. It was all bad.
She was content. There, I think, Lipsky was top mount, but reversed.
Yeah, she herself, I think she tried stepping away and got caught. That was it was. She started going away, and remember, she sat back down.
Sat back down on it.
Yeah, because if she wouldn't, it was going to be a heel hook.
Yeah.
Going for a heel hook. And so she immediately saw that, and instead of doing what Gaslam did, which is try to walk away from it, she sat back down and then went to work on her leg. Tried to crank it one way, wasn't working, so she cranked it back the other way.
Went straight up.
Bent back, game over.
Was not expecting that. She said
no.
She was staying content. She was in there. She's like,
yeah, she just sat there and didn't. Yeah.
And
almost snapped it. I mean, I knew it was all bad. The moment she pulled it back, I knew it was over. I knew there was nothing. And Lipsky, I Yeah, seeing what she's done up to this point, and then that, she's one of those people that strikes me as like maybe the next person to come up and make some noise.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because
she has a look. She's exciting. She's humble.
well, in these women fighters, it's very top heavy. You know, these champions are not going anywhere.
They're staying.
And there's some interesting people coming up, but like in Wale Zhang's division with Rose and what's her name, the one she just beat, Andrade. Like I don't see Andrade or Rose beating Wale Zhang.
And I believe Shevchenko's in that division too.
No, she's the next one up.
Okay.
I love to
see.
see.
She can always move down.
I love to see those two go at it,
yeah.
because we saw her and Joanna and Zhang go at it.
Yep.
And credit to Joanna, if she would have done that to any other female fighter in that division, she would have smoked them.
Yeah.
But Wale Zhang sat there and took it like a brick wall.
Yep.
Everything. I mean, yeah, she looked beat after that, like beat up, but she could have gone another 2 rounds. Easily. You know, and Joanna's face ballooned up like a watermelon. Yeah, it was all bad. All bad. And she was so embarrassed. She's like covering it up. Well, yeah, like I can't even imagine. And can you imagine what her head felt like for the next week? You know? Yeah. You know, to me that seeing that as a cornerman, I would be immediately concerned. Like, do we need to call this?
Now, because her head's about to explode.
Yeah, you know, and it only got worse. I think it was like 3rd round that she started ballooning up, and she had 2 more rounds to go. You know, so I think the best fights to happen right now would be champions going at each other. Zhang and Shevchenko, and then Shevchenko and maybe Nunez. You know, but I don't see anyone touching Nunez.
Yeah, she's on fire.
I mean, she retired Ronda Rousey.
Oh.
She slayed
Retired Cyborg also.
Retired Cyborg. Well, she kicked her out of the UFC.
Man.
You know, she demolished Holly Holmes.
Man,
you know,
she's
so
on a tear.
yeah, so I don't see, but you know, women like this, like Lipsky, she gives me hope that maybe there's something coming up the pipeline.
Exactly.
Because you know these poor women they keep bringing out to Nunez and Shevchenko, you know, are they're just getting eaten up. They gotta stop. They gotta stop putting these.
Really, like even Nunez last.
Oh, that way, yeah.
What's her name? I call her Jiggle.
Yeah, she. The thing is, that girl, you could tell 2 rounds in she was over it.
Yeah.
You know, but
Like, okay,
she stayed in there. She stayed in there and fought, but you could tell, you could see in her eyes that she's like, "Fuck,
What
What
I sign up for?
Yeah, you know, so she knew she was in for one.
Crazy.
Yeah, so there's
Exciting
some hope. Even for someone like Carolina, you know, I hope for some of these women that are young and getting beat now that they'll bounce back. You know, 6-2 is nothing to turn your nose up to. You know. Then this one, Mark Diakis and Rafael Fiziev.
Yeah.
What a good one.
Banger.
Some of these leg kicks that he took to the gut, they snapped.
Yes.
He hit so hard it was like a snap. And there was 3 that I wasn't even really paying attention. I heard them.
Yeah.
To look up. Yeah, and then you look up and it's like, damn, you knew that hurt and that did some damage. Yeah.
What a banger. You can't even describe that. You just had to watch it.
That's something. Yeah, that's a fight you have to watch. You can't tell someone how great that fight was. And for Diakis, you know, the abuse he took to keep coming back and to keep going and make that fight interesting and give the judges something to think about. Yeah, it was a good one.
It would have been cool if they would have called that a draw and maybe further in their careers they meet up again. That
Yeah.
would have made a story for sure.
But I can see a draw being unappealing because then where do either of those guys, do they both move up small? Whether one would normally jump up big and one would drop down a little bit. If it's a draw, they both probably don't go up very much. Exactly. But it's been a while since we've even seen a draw.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
I feel like that is a product of the judging.
It is. It has to look sexy.
It does. And it has to feel rewarding for someone.
Yes, exactly. And it has to make money. It has to make money to resell that fight.
Right.
If it is a draw.
And like that first Fury Wilder fight, even if Fury would have lost, I still would have rathered someone had won.
Yes.
You know, just like the Triple G Canelo fight, You know I love Canelo, and I thought he lost that first fight. It wasn't a draw to me, but it was money. It was all about.
Fight and it was one of those like, oh, this story's still going on.
Yeah, the thing is if Triple G wins that fight, and they run it back, which they would have, no matter who won that fight, they're gonna run it back. They run that fight back, and Triple G wins again, then he cements his legacy. If Canelo wins, boom, you got number 3.
Yep.
You know, but now the narrative is it's Canelo won and then one draw.
In one draw. Exactly.
So,
which I don't know if it's fake or real, but I heard they're talking about another third.
But I feel like Canelo is at his peak right now.
The only 2 guys besides are Ryan Garcia and Gervonta that are selling tickets.
And they're in different weight classes.
Big
so it's
still trying to come back with the Triple G thing, but there's no big name.
But Triple G will kill Pacquiao. He will kill him.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, we're seeing in Triple G one of the best peak performances from a fighter, from a boxer ever. You're talking Floyd Mayweather and that type, you know, untouchableness, you know, which we haven't seen since some of the old heavyweights.
Yeah.
You know, Tyson took a beating, but it didn't faze him. He was solid, you know. Yeah, you know, and I think his only failure as a fighter was kind of losing his edge. You know, when he lost to Holyfield and bit his fucking ear off, he looked out of shape that fight. He didn't look mentally prepared for that fight. You know, that's probably.
He admits it. He was over it.
He was done. He beat the shit out of everyone.
Yeah, he was done. And he said, "I don't want to be that person no more. I don't want to be that person no more."
I don't think anyone. I don't think there's any fighter that at the peak of their career put the fear in other fighters like Tyson did.
Like Tyson.
You know,
he was a gangster.
Oh, he was, and he was lights out.
Yeah.
You know, every single punch he threw could have ended someone. Yeah, just like the closest thing we have is Wilder to that knockout power, but two different fighters, two different styles. Wilder does his best to evade, pick his punch, and counter. He's not going to outpunch you. He's not going to take a beating, but you give him a small window and he's going to knock you out. You know, probably the best knockout artist probably ever. You know, you could probably say he's a better knockout artist than Mike Tyson was. Yeah. But Mike Tyson was a bulldozer. Yeah, he was a bulldozer. Yeah, you could hit him all you want, and you better make it count because once he starts connecting, you're gonna feel it.
He still looks scary. How old is he? How old is Mike Tyson?
Oh, let's find out.
Maybe 50, older. Man, and look at the videos and him training still. At that age,
he's 54 years old, and I still think he is a guy that could come back and fight professionally right now. I don't think he's going to compete with. He won't be a top contender, but I bet you he would crack top 10.
Yeah,
he'd crack top 10 in heavyweights.
He reminds me like Romero.
It is a physical specimen.
Yeah.
You know, people aren't built like that, obviously, and so we get this once in a lifetime person like Mike Tyson. You know, like now we're seeing. I think Israel Adesanya, John Jones, Khabib. These are generational talents. Yeah, you know, if you saw Khabib on the street, you wouldn't think twice about him.
Yeah,
you wouldn't. He'd be dressed normally. You'd be like, oh, that's just some Russian dude with a lot of hair. You know, and he would fuck you. You know, he would make your life miserable. Yeah, Adesanya just looks like a normal dude that you'd see at the gym who probably plays Pokemon Go, has Dragon Ball Z posters in his. He'll mess you up. You know, John Jones does like meditation. He's like a monk, bro, but he'll kill you. You know. And so we get these, and the thing is Mike Tyson's in his own class, even compared to those. When it's all said and done for John Jones, Adesanya, Khabib, we'll still talk about Fury like we do Michael Jordan, we're going to LeBron James one day. You know, LeBron's age, size don't normally be able to play point guard, play center, like how he does, and what he has mentally. Mike Tyson, you might not think he's very intelligent listening to him talk, but he is. He is, especially about his craft.
Oh my goodness.
Even to this day, people, these these fighters are still coming to him for boxing advice. He's still coaching people, you know?
Everything about it.
And that's a testament. You know, you don't see very many old people who can still compete in today's time. You know, you see a lot of older people in all walks of life that eventually get phased out because they can't keep up with modern times. But when a person is the most feared fighter probably of all time, still has wisdom to impart into people, you know, and can still is still someone who gives people valuable information. That's a level of special, you know, a whole different level of special. Yeah. Kobe Bryant was still, I mean, he's got 6 guys in the league right now that are either all pro or NBA champions or NBA MVPs off of him, you know?
It's special people. It's crazy. I wish. Speaking of people and acting out, you see the Mike Perry video?
I haven't seen the video, but I did read the article. And he knocked out some old dude and apparently went on some racist rant.
Oh.
Now he's white, right?
No, he's white, but you can tell he was grown around black.
Right, yeah, he's hood.
Yeah,
he's hood. But even though the hood loves you, when you're a public figure and you're out in public, you can't.
He was drunk and he was on.
And I mean, maybe if he's got his boys with him and his boys are like, no, I don't got a problem. Like he could say that. Yeah. You know, he's black. You know, but
and the way he used it, you can tell he wasn't like he was like.
But we're in cancel culture right now. You know, people find that out, and you're not black.
Like in his interviews and stuff, you can tell he's black.
Right, but the woke culture, the woke community.
You heard that?
Yeah, it you know.
He was calling his lady. I think it was a lady. He was calling her the B word. You don't have my back. Oh man, it was hilarious. I think the whole thing was comedy.
And the thing is, the unfortunate thing is too, most of those videos only show what the fighter did. They don't show what the other person was doing to get there. Exactly. Yeah. And that's another problem with this cancel culture is people see the edited version where it's just of the fighter. You know, especially because a lot of time people don't pull out their phone until the action starts. Exactly. They don't always record the buildup. Yeah. You know, and you see a lot of things in general on both sides. Not only, you know, you talk about some of the videos that have been captured of police brutality, but you don't always see what leads up to it. Now, 90% of the time, it doesn't matter because either it had whatever was done to incite the police. It didn't excuse their actions. But there is 10% of the time. But there is 10% of the time where they're egged on by people or or something happened previously to that. But the only thing that's put on TMZ is that point. Exactly. And
that's what causes people's reactions. You're gonna have both sides.
Both sides.
One's gonna say right, one's gonna say wrong,
and that's the problem. Is there's, I would say, about 25% of the United States population is extremely on one side or another. Exactly. Either Black Lives Matter or police, supporting police. Yeah. Then you got 50% in the middle that either feel for both sides. You know, they feel like I do believe that majority of police are good, but I also think it's messed up that some police are getting away with murdering black people or minorities in general. Exactly. You know, and
there's points on both sides.
And I think it's okay to be on both sides. I think it's okay to say, for the most part, police are good, but you can have a problem with police kneeling on someone's neck and killing them and getting away with it for the most part up until recently. Exactly. You know, the cop that killed George Floyd murdered him. That was murder. You know, but some of the other things that happened, I remember seeing a video a couple years back of a young black teen who was coming at a cop very aggressively, told him to stop, and he had his hand behind his hip and he kept approaching him. And that cop can't say he might not have, he can't question that if that kid's got a gun or not. Yeah. He has to assume he does, so that way he knows if he protects himself, he goes home that night. He still has to go home to his family. And that kid didn't have to do that. You know, he knew what he was doing when he approached him aggressively like that, that the cop was either going to kill him or that he was going to have this funny prank. Yeah, exactly. And was it really that funny? No. You know, but some people just don't, you know, and until police reform happens, as a black person, you have to do everything you can to make sure you go home. Yeah, exactly. You have to comply, and sometimes that's not enough.
And sometimes it is messed up. Sometimes because cops will be aggressive and mean, and you just gotta, yes sir.
Exactly. You have to comply to make sure that you go home safely, and sometimes it's not enough. I have seen videos where black people and minorities have complied, unarmed, laying on the ground, and get shot.
Yeah, and get shot.
You know, but that isn't an excuse for not trying to do everything you can to protect yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, until we get police reform where minorities and specifically black people are stop being targeted. You know, when we stop having cops pulling people over for a license bulb being out, or you know, stupid shit they pull them over for just to find out if they have a warrant or something.
Yeah.
You know, that's literally what they do. I know cops. I know cops who are minorities that said, "Man, being a cop was one of the hardest things I had ever had to do because you see all these other cops pulling over minorities over stupid little things just to find out if they have a warrant or if."
Then they press that issue.
And then they press that issue, you know, and some people, especially people on the right side, might think, well, that's fine because if those people have something to go to jail for, then they should.
Yeah.
But when you consider how fucked up the judicial system is, you know,
Exactly.
that's not okay, you know, and for people, you know, that the term white privilege thrown out there, it's misconstrued by the right, and it's over labeled by the left. The left just wants to tell every single white person they have white privilege, and white people don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
But what white privilege is knowing that when you get pulled over as a white person, you don't have to fear for your life.
Yeah, exactly.
If you comply, you're going home. But as a minority or specifically a black person, if you get pulled over, you got to wonder if you're going home.
You're stressing.
You're in there
like, okay,
whether you did something or not.
Exactly.
Because nothing.
Stupid. You're thinking,
Exactly. You did something that he didn't like seeing. Yeah. You reached for your registration too quickly. Yep. He pulls out his gun and kills you. Yeah. You know, and so white privilege, the word, people just immediately get defensive over it. Yeah. But because it does have kind of a inflammatory connotation to it. You are privileged. People don't want to hear that they're privileged, especially when they didn't come from a privileged upbringing. Yeah, exactly. And then they take offense from it. Exactly. Like, but if you were to just stop and just stop getting emotional about it, and just think, when I get pulled over, I don't have to worry about if I'm going home that night. Because I've never felt that way. When I've gotten pulled over by a cop, I've never worried for my safety. Exactly. I've worried like, man, I might be getting a ticket, but I've never had to worry about. And so that's where when I hear white privilege, that's what I equate it to. Yes, does that sound bad? Do I want anyone to tell me I'm privileged? Hell no, because I didn't grow up privileged. But when it comes to police interactions, I don't have to worry for my safety. And that's what a lot of people have a hard time wrapping their brain about. And I think police reform does need to happen. Do I think defunding the police is the answer? Hell no. Hell no. Do I think that cutting the budget across the board for all government agency? Yes. If cutting the police budget means we have less cops on the street, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because cops are writing tickets just to fill their quota. Yeah, exactly. At the end of the month,
they say they don't have,
but we all know that's a lie. We all know that's a lie.
If there's a cop not writing,
because they do have to bring in some kind of an income.
Yeah.
They do. And so that's why at the end of the month, I do everything I can to stay off the road. The last week of the month, because you see so many out. So many out. Yep. You know, and so if it means that police are no longer going to be out lurking and being in people's business, then I don't necessarily see that as a bad thing. But what I do grow concerned about is inner cities. Where when police are stretched so thin that they can't respond to the real problems, you know, the people who suffer from that are the people that don't have any gang affiliation, that don't have any criminal affiliation. They're just trying to survive and live. But I do think that money saved by, you know, reducing the budget of the police should be put into inner cities to build them back up. You know, when but I also think that a lot of money across the board in the government needs to be cut back. I think that politician salaries. Why does a politician need to be making $250,000 or more a year? Why can a politician? We don't know. But then there's that documentary on Dirty Money on Netflix, and they talk about, and if you want to know what's occurring in the United States right now, watch the episode about Malaysia on Dirty Money on Netflix, and you will see exactly what goes on here. Is rich people keep giving foreign aid to other countries. Now, explain to me why we're sending $40 billion to Iraq, and then Iraq sends $20 billion back. what's the point? You know, why would I give you $40 for you right away to give me $20 back? If I'm giving that to you, like, hey, I need help. I want to build a shed out back.
Yeah.
And I give you the money to buy the shed. And then you're like, well, hey, I want to give you $20 so you can go build a smaller shed in your backyard. Or so you can build whatever, some addition to my house. This is essentially the same thing. And it makes no sense. I should have just given you $20, right? Because you just gave me $20 straight back. But what it is just like in the Malaysia episode, they were siphoning money from the people. They're saying, give us a little bit extra on your taxes, and then we're going to give you some money back. And what we're going to do with that money is we're going to invest it. And they thought, if we invest into American companies, the profit from the investments, millions and billions of dollars, we can give you back money, plus it makes money for the government.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, but what was actually happening was they were giving some money back to the people, and it was essentially a tax return.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it was. I pay something close to like $14,000-$15,000 a year in taxes, and on years where I claim my son, I get a good amount. But on years where I don't, I make maybe $1,000 back.
Yeah, exactly.
So these people were putting all this money in, and then getting a tax return back essentially. And what these elites in Malaysia are doing, especially the president, is they were siphoning the money off to themselves, and they kept transferring it to this person, to this person, to this person, this person, and they drove that fund bankrupt because all this money was coming out of it and nothing was going back into it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then this president or prime minister of Malaysia is living this extravagant life. Meanwhile, all these people on the streets who are paying into taxes are living in squalor. And if you want to know what's going on in our country, that is essentially what it is. We're giving all this foreign aid to these other countries. They're giving us money back. But what it is just money changing hands and money getting siphoned off into these people's pockets. That's why you're seeing Joe Biden's son getting exposed in Ukraine. Because he's over there working for this company that's receiving aid from the United States. And doesn't that kind of scream suspicion? Like, hey,
come on, guys.
They're literally taking our hard-earned money and putting it in their pockets. That's why these politicians refuse to endorse stuff like legalizing marijuana.
Yeah.
Because pharmaceutical companies give them so much money to not allow it.
Yeah.
If they're going to lose $1 billion a year, what is it to them to give a politician $1 million just to make sure that that weed doesn't ever get federally legalized?
Here's your tab.
Yeah.
Boom. Done.
And it's so blatantly obvious, but people, they get their tax return and they don't have to worry about, especially white people, they don't have to worry about the same things that black people have to worry about. And then and in their inner cities, it's not just black people, it's all colors.
It's all racist.
It's all races.
Yeah.
You look at how many rich Irish people do you know? Really, think about it. There's usually they're performers or athletes or something. You don't see a lot of like self-made billionaire Irish people because Irish people came over to this country and they were enslaved too. They were the first slaves. Or not, they weren't the first slaves, but they were like the first industrial slaves. They came over broke, and they were put to work and treated like shit too. And for a long time in the United States, it was not, if you were Irish, you were trash. You were dirt. And so, it's not just black people, it's not just Mexicans, it's all colors living in these inner cities that are all suffering because our government, rather than investing into communities, they have taken the stance that they're no longer public servants. And they vote on their own salary, and they're doing all these backdoor deals. That's why, I don't have respect for a person in Trump, but at least Trump is doing stuff that's moving the country in the right direction, economy-wise, And if you look in years past, even not just Democrats, but you look at Obama and then Bush and then Clinton, and as far back in my in my life where I could understand what politicians were and what was going on in the country. This is the best our country's really been in since as long as I can remember. We have some of the lowest unemployment rates, and then the coronavirus happens.
Yeah, exactly. And then even with that, he's still trying
and actually, the economy's really not even doing that bad.
Yeah, exactly.
People really thought that it was going to crash. Now, I am concerned about things long term if we don't reopen. that we will see it, and they're already talking about food insecurity. So food insecurity is for people who don't know where or they worry about where their next meal is going to come from, whether because they're broke or limited income. That it went from 20% in the United States to 40% during the pandemic. So 40% of Americans right now are worried about where their next meal is going to come from. Now, it doesn't mean they're not going to. It just means they're worried about it. And that you're seeing this huge influx of people coming to food banks that had never been there before. And so right now, I think we're up to 100,000 deaths in the United States from coronavirus, which let's say 75% of that is true because we all know that testing is all screwed up right now. So let's just be generous. Let's just say 75% of it is accurate, which I still think is too high. That 750,000 people or 75,000 people have died so far from coronavirus. And at this pace, we're looking at about 150 to 200,000 people will die from coronavirus by the end of the year if there's no vaccine. Yeah. Now, they're predicting that millions globally are going to die because of the lockdown, because of loss of jobs, because of lack of food. So we're closing. We're trying to close down the country as best we can, and we're still going to lose about 150,000 to 200,000 people this year. But on the other hand, we might lose millions of people globally because we locked everything down.
Closing down the schools and parents that need that help, that school to go to
So in 10 years, when we look back and we're like, well, shit, 200,000 people, 300,000 people at worst, let's say we don't have a vaccine by next summer, die from coronavirus. But then we're like, well, shit, because we closed it down, 1 million people died from starvation. Yeah. In countries like Syria.
Kill each other. There's going to be war because people get desperate.
Well, and exactly. In these, think about these. Think about if things continue and people in other countries, especially like in the United States, I can't see people revolting, at least not successfely. But let's say in these third world countries, the thing is it could. Because you're going to, and you might even see a civil war, to be honest, between the extreme Black Lives Matter people, if they decide, you know what, fuck this, we got to take this in our own hands, and then you got the crazy people in the South, if people try to come take their guns or kind of try to tell them they got to change your way of life, they're going to arm themselves. And then you're going to see the government try to get involved, and it's going to be all bad because then you got 3 people fighting with each other. But in places like Venezuela, where so Venezuela recently, in recent times, was one of the most profitable, beautiful countries. Well, they became socialist, which is our modern day way of calling something communist. It really is. Yeah. All you liberal fucking snowflakes out there who don't think socialism is communism, you're trying to call Target. Socialism is communism. It's a good way to put it. It's trying to French up communism. And so Venezuela became socialist. And you hear people who have escaped from Venezuela come to the United States tell people, your Democrats, your liberals are exactly what we saw in Venezuela before socialism took over. Yeah. And socialism took over and the country went broke. They took guns from the people and then they just made life hell for the people. And then when the people came out to protest, they ran them over in the streets. They brought out them fire trucks and hosed them down. It was all bad. And there's nothing you can do because those people can't defend themselves. They got all their guns taken away by the government. So people who think liberals coming in and taking guns from people and taxing the rich to give to the poor, which isn't true. It's tax the rich to give themselves money and then do use it to fund the welfare system and illegal immigrants, which I'm all for changing the immigration process. If people want to come into the United States and they want to work in the fields, they want to work at jobs, get them citizenship and let them pay taxes. Exactly. You can't. They obviously can't stop people from crossing the border. They can't. So open the doors and have them come in the legal way. And all they want to do is work, but then they're stealing our jobs. And they're not. Those people. Those people have been jobless for years. You don't see white people going out trying to get jobs in the fields, trying to get jobs in these factories. You see it even in low income white people. They feel like they're too good to work manual labor. So you cannot stop these people from coming over. So you might as well have them pay taxes. Yeah. Now, where you're starting to run into problems is then you have liberal leaders who want them to be able to vote.
Yeah.
And I think that is risky. I think someone should have to be here for a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
Because they need to experience how this country works.
Yeah.
Even if they don't speak the language, living here and seeing how things work is important in knowing how you need to vote.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, you have these liberals who are pushing hard to try and get them in the country, get them registered so they can vote
right
for
now.
them.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and
I vote you here, vote for me.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think a huge problem right now with the political atmosphere is that people who don't like Trump feel like they have to vote for Biden.
Yeah,
and that's all bad. You know, we just got done.
I just want to see that guy, and I'll some vote for you guys.
Right, and everyone is talking about how, you know, white people have white privilege and they can't relate to minorities. Yet they want to elect an old white man who helped pass police bills that made things the way they are now. That put us in the position we are now. He supported those things. And now he's trying to flip-flop and say, oh, no, I'm on your side. But the dude literally has dementia.
Yeah.
He can't formulate. Exactly. And so we have an old white man who's lived during a time where black people didn't have rights.
Yeah.
And you want him to run this country in a way that minorities will be lifted up.
Yeah.
And he's been in politics for, what, 30, 40 years? And why did if he saw a problem, then why didn't he do something about it?
Yeah.
It's because he's part of the problem.
Yeah. He was in there enjoying it. Like, oh, yeah, awesome.
And honestly, like, I didn't have a big opinion on Obama. I thought a lot of things he did, like Obamacare, which forced companies to... It didn't force companies, but it put companies in a position where like they felt like they had to cut jobs. And so you saw unemployment rate spike when Obamacare came into effect. And Common Core schooling, I don't know for any of you people out there with kids, Common Core is ridiculous. I'm trying to help my son with his second grade schooling, and I'm barely able to remember how to do that stuff because it was stuff I did in high school.
What type of process is this?
Yeah, and so in hindsight, I mean, what can anyone say Obama did for police reform? He always had an opinion on it.
I think Obama didn't do a lot to do good or didn't do bad.
And in my opinion, I think that he, by enacting Obamacare, in theory, it meant everyone was going to have health care. He wanted to make sure everyone had health care. But if you didn't have health care, they fined you.
Yeah.
So because you couldn't afford health care, you got fined, which is counterproductive.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the biggest people that fell into that bracket were low-income people. It wasn't middle-class people who suffered because they had jobs that provided it.
Yep, exactly.
But for people at Walmart, they lost their job.
Yep.
They cut payroll when all of a sudden they had to provide some sort of health care.
He did a couple things. I think he's kind of...
Well, and now you look at where he is now. Homeboy just bought a brand new mansion in Martha's Vineyard.
Ooh.
And how many poor black people could he have bought homes for with that money? Millions of dollars, I imagine that house cost. In Martha's Vineyard? Look, let's look it up.
Man. He's making his money. I see one of his daughters is hanging out with rappers. I wonder that was what last
Oh, but you knew that was going to happen. That's the president's daughter has to be worse than the preacher's daughter. Preacher daughter, wild as hell.
Wow. She a freak.
Let's see.
Man, look at that. Look at that shit. Maybe Michelle wanted that.
But you know what I mean?
He didn't want to spend that money, but Michelle did.
I mean, look, that house had to be at least one. Oh, right here, $12 million house.
Wow.
$12 million. How many homes could you have built with $12 million? You figure to build a house is like right now, just to build it. You don't talk markup.
Yeah.
You just talk about building a home. That's got to be Let's just say $100,000. Oh, this was. Yeah, this is after he was done being president.
No. So after he was done, he went and just bought this, or was this recent?
No, this is like in the last year.
Oh shit!
When's this article from?
This shit is recent. That shit's crazy.
This is from December of last year.
7 bedrooms only. You know how big those bedrooms have to be?
Oh, look at that.
Bedroom is a house.
And look at all that property.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Where's the basketball hoop at?
7-bedroom home, 7,000 square feet, 29 waterfront acres.
Wow.
Waterfront. Indoor swimming pool, sun decks, balconies, a boathouse, private beachfront.
Wow.
So $12 million, that is 12 times 10, 120. He could have built 120 homes for underprivileged people with that money. Now, that's easy for me to spend his money, but tell me, how does a politician come out of being a politician with $12 million? I mean, he's got more than 12 million. They're not going to drop their whole life savings.
Yeah.
So let's just say that was a quarter of how much money they had.
Exactly.
Why does a president need to come out of being president with $48 million? How does a president come out of being president with $48 million? Even $12 million?
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders loved to say back in the 70s or 80s that no politician should be a millionaire.
Yeah.
Well, now he says no politician should be a billionaire because he himself is now a millionaire. He's a millionaire. Bernie, and you know what's crazy is Hillary Clinton trashed when Hillary Clinton was trying to go up against Trump. She first had to get past Bernie Sanders, and she trashed Bernie Sanders in their debates. And she said, this guy has been a lifelong politician, has done nothing. He was 40 years old and didn't have a job, and he became a politician. She trashed him in a live debate, and then she turns around and endorses him. Because she doesn't care how it's done. She just wants Trump out of office. She hates him that much. And imagine having that big of a grudge because a dude exposed you on live television, made fun of you in countless debates. That you're that salty about it. And she still says, she still can't stop talking about how she almost became president. She can't give it up. She can't let go of it. And she turns around and endorses Bernie Sanders after trashing him for being a horrible politician just because she doesn't like Donald Trump. Refuses to give Donald Trump any kind of credit for what he's done as a president. And one concerning thing I have, I mean, I think Donald Trump is a terrible human being. Terrible human being.
Yeah.
He cheated on his wife, obviously, with that porn star, Stormy Daniels. And the whole thing that came out with that wasn't the fact that he did it. He wasn't denying that. But he made her sign an NDA, a non-disclosure. So that way she'd never talk about it. And she got paid for that. Well, she didn't like the fact that she only got that little amount of money, and so she tried to come. So she tried to take him back and try to get more.
Yep.
And she tried to say, "Oh, it's because I thought it was the right thing to do." No, you wanted more money.
Yeah.
You wanted more money.
Money.
And I'm sure that there's these liberal leaders who also gave her money to try and fight it and bring it out so that way they could discredit him. So they can discredit him.
Yeah, exactly.
And now there's a woman that's come out and said Biden raped her years and years ago.
Yeah.
And no one on the left wants to hear anything about it.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't want to give her any credit.
Yep.
And this is who these are the people we have elected.
And running.
I would rather Kanye West become president than Joe Biden. But I would love to see people like Mark Cuban, the owner of the Mavericks.
Yeah.
I think he's a great mind, and he's Democratic. I don't have nothing against Democrats. I'd love to see Mark Cuban run for president. I think that he's a type of businessman you need. We need business people in there because right now the government is being ran like a business, just a poorly ran business. It's not making no profit. We're losing money every year.
Yep.
So why do we have politicians in there who are continuing to take more money from it when you could have someone like Trump or Mark Cuban? Why are we not electing business people to run this business?
How to run it.
Because it's obviously being run like a business.
Yeah.
But we don't have business people running it. And so that's why I have...
Came up and they're like, I think we need this.
Right. Why do politicians have to make the money they do, and why do they give so much of our money to other countries?
Yeah.
And we're helping them. And what it is it's money laundering.
Yeah.
It is. They're moving all this money around, taking from it, so that way when they get spit out at the end for half of what it went in for, it doesn't look suspicious.
They're good. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
I want to move to Canada.
Canada's got their own problems, man.
I know. Exactly. You're not going to move anywhere without problems. You're always going to have problems somewhere.
And the thing is,
there's
not many countries where you can have nothing and become a millionaire.
Become something.
You know,
You see it all the time.
all the time. You know, there's literally television shows that let you showcase your talents for $1 million. If you win it, you win $1 million.
Exactly.
And there's not very many other countries. You know, there's countries like India where if you're born poor, you're pretty much going to die poor.
Yeah.
And in the United States, you see so many people trying to chase their dreams, and we make fun of them, but you literally have that chance. Anyone, anyone can.
All you gotta do is do something.
Anything. You can play poker. You can learn a skill. You can have a talent.
Hit a ball, throw a ball,
Yeah.
kick a ball.
You know how many other countries have professional sports people making millions of dollars?
Yeah, exactly.
Very few. Outside of soccer, probably none.
Yeah.
You know, over in Asia, basketball players and baseball players, golf. You can hit a little ball with a stick.
Just learn it.
Rich white people love hitting little balls with a long stick.
Wait.
It could be on a horse. It could be on their feet.
Yeah.
They could do that cricket or not. What's that thing where the ball and you put your foot on it and then you hit it with the mallet?
Yep. Or even like cricket.
White people love that. They love hitting little balls with sticks.
Or throw little balls. What's that,
They pay a lot of money for that. Oh, lacrosse.
Lacrosse.
They love playing with little balls.
Little balls is the answer for
You know?
white people.
And what other countries can you do all these sports and make that much money doing it?
Yeah.
You can't. And so people want to trash on the United States, but there's literally no better place to live right now. And that's sad.
Yeah.
That is sad.
Yeah.
When we have all these problems in our country, yet it's still the best country to live. Everyone wants to come here.
The opportunity.
You never hear people saying, "Oh man, I want to move to Switzerland."
Yeah.
You want to move to the Netherlands where you pay 25% tax?
Yeah.
Sure, you have free health care, but it takes 6 months to get into the doctor. You have free university, but you have professors making nothing, so you're not getting the best.
Yeah.
Those professors, they want to make millions of dollars too. They come to the United States. They teach at Harvard.
Yep.
They don't stay in those countries. Socialism does not work. It's literally socialism. You get taxed out of your ass. It goes into free healthcare and free university, and the result is the university and the healthcare systems are trash. In the United States, the more money you have, the better healthcare you get. I don't. And is it fucked up that some people are born in the United States in shitty conditions? Yes. Does that occur in every single country?
It does.
Pretty much. But in what country can you be born? You can be homeless. How many homeless people do you hear of that get discovered because they have this beautiful singing voice? Next thing you know, they're winning some singing competition, or someone starts a GoFundMe and they're off the streets. They're millionaires. They're personalities.
Sleeping outside the stadiums and whatever.
And making the team. Making the team.
Now they're rich.
Josh Jacobs, the running back for the Raiders, he was homeless as a kid. Slept in a car.
Yeah.
And now he's going to be a millionaire.
Yep.
He is going to make millions of dollars playing football. What other countries can you be sleeping in your car and then become a professional athlete when you grow up and make all that money? And what's shitty is you have these athletes who make, Drew Brees is making probably $30 million a year right now, but he puts a lot of money back in his communities. But why is the burden of putting money back into the communities left on these guys? Not on film producers or movie producers, people that fund movies. Think about the person who put the money up to film the Harry Potter movies. Yeah. He put up $100 million a movie, but he made $500 million back.
Yeah, easily.
What foundation does that guy have that he's put? Bill Gates, a billionaire. What money is Bill Gates? Couldn't Bill Gates probably fix homelessness in the United States? Why doesn't he? Think about if you got every homeless person off the street and you got every person making minimum wage, making more, and you had people on welfare system that could make more money working at a minimum wage job than staying on welfare. Those people are contributing taxes, which means we all benefit. We all benefit. As long as the government does something right with that money, we all benefit from homeless people being off the street. We have low-income people and people on welfare system working, producing more money into taxes. We all benefit. But this whole welfare system dates back to Lyndon B. Johnson. He was the guy that took over when John F. Kennedy got assassinated. Lyndon B. Johnson became president, and he was a known racist, a Democrat, no less. Known racist. He hated black people, but he knew he could control black people by one way, by government assistance.
Here.
You give inner cities and poor people money, they're more inclined to vote for you. You have control over them. Stay home also. Yeah. And so now you have all these low-income people that have no job skills and are reliant on the government, and that's how we've gotten to where we are today. It's control. These poor people feel like and that's a far cry from where we all came from as people. Yeah. Gatherers, hunters, warriors, and skills.
And now, with that,
laziness. And now you got people that even if they could make more money not working, they don't want to. It's easier just to stay home. Yeah. And then the even shittier part is in inner cities where, young black youth, why would they go work at McDonald's for $10 an hour when they can sell drugs? That's that documentary on Netflix is crazy. You see a lot of black youth saying, I could go work at McDonald's for $10 an hour, but I could make the same amount of money that I would there in a month in one drug sale. Yeah, exactly. And I would feel the same way. Yeah, exactly. I would feel the exact same way. That why would I go work at McDonald's for $10 an hour when I can sell a gram of Coke for a week's wage? Yep, easy. Boom. Or worse, meth and pills and the people that I need it. To other poor people who then have to resort to stealing and violence to get money to keep fueling their drug addiction. And there's so much shit from back in the day where the government was exposed for releasing drugs into inner cities. Exactly. Here. To break down inner cities, to break apart the black family unit. Around that time you started seeing the single motherhood rate spike. Go up. Because these black guys were having 3, 4, 5 kids, no job. This is a shitty situation. I also got a drug addiction, and they dip. Yep. And now you got these single mothers raising 4 or 5 kids, working 3 jobs. The good ones were. Then you got the other exactly. Oh, yeah. Then some of the more unfortunate stories were single black mothers getting addicted to drugs. Yeah. Those are the sadder stories. Yeah. The kids for their own. And tell me why a single mother of 3, 4, 5 kids has to work 3 jobs to provide for them. Yeah, exactly. How does that make sense? Where she gets a couple days where she gets to have 8 hours of sleep. Yeah. Other days she's having 3 hours of sleep. Yeah. And 30, 40 years ago, you could support a family on a entry-level job working full-time. Yeah. Now she's got to work 3 jobs that are 20 hours apiece, not giving her no health benefits. Exactly. All part-time. Companies like to do that. Keep them part-time so we don't have to pay benefits.
Don't care for our workers.
Yeah. And so the whole system is broken, and we're continuing to try to elect people that have been a part of that problem since the beginning of it. For the last 40 years, all these politicians are still there that were there when this started going downwards.
When they came up with the game plan.
Yeah. They were like, oh yeah. And we're still electing them. Yeah, Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi, and they're still in there. And I was just talking with someone the other day about that. I think there's an age, you have to be 35 years old to run for president, but there's no age limit. You could be 100 years old and run for it. But how does Joe Biden, who's 70 years old, how can he relate to me? How does he know what's going on in this world? That's why I would vote for Well, and that's why I would vote for Kanye. Kanye knows what it's like to be in my shoes. J. Cole knows what it's like to be in my shoes. Mark Cuban knows what it's like to be in my shoes. Donald Trump almost knows what it's like to be in my shoes. He knows what it's like for people in my shoes to work for him. Yeah. But Joe Biden has no idea. I saw this video. He's on this campaign trail, and he's at this one of these states where there's it's pretty split, Republican and Democrat. And so a Republican guy, he was like a military vet. He stands up and he's like, man, he's laying into Biden. He's like, you're trying to take all these freedoms from us, and it's just not right. And Joe Biden looks at him dead in the eye and says, I don't work for you. Joe Biden, as a former vice president, and now trying to run for president. That is their job title is public servant.
Yeah.
You do serve him.
Yeah.
You owe answers to every single citizen.
Yeah.
To every single citizen, you owe them, and that should be a concerning thing for people. Is he doesn't feel like he's serving the American people. He feels like the American people serve him.
Exactly.
That's the problem with most of our. Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, their job is to listen to the heartbeat of America and do what the people tell them they want done, whether you think that's right or not. You know? But every time we gain any kind of steam towards this kind of talk and this kind of reform, something comes up. Coronavirus, race war. You know, what's the next virus going to be?
Exactly. And now the time of coronavirus, the symptoms are like diarrhea, throwing up. How is it switching up now?
Well, and in the beginning they said it can't survive out the body for longer than 24 hours.
Exactly.
Now they're saying on some surfaces it could last for a week. Some it could last for...
And then it was the temperature.
They said it couldn't survive over 80 degrees. And now it's summer.
You can have it and not be sick.
And you're seeing spikes in states that are very hot. Georgia, Texas, California. These are hot states.
Man, that's crazy.
The thing is...
Now symptoms are the opposite of this sore throat. It's diarrhea.
Yeah.
Now.
Remember, everyone laughed because why are you buying up all this toilet paper? You're not going to get diarrhea.
Yeah, but now, you get diarrhea.
But now I saw something today that said, and it was like a health document that said that the coronavirus tests can come back positive if you have the cold.
Yeah.
If you have a cold.
Or if you have the antibody from having it already.
Exactly. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for the antibody. So if you have the antibody, it's considered a positive test.
Yeah. And then people do their quarantine, come back. Yeah.
And
you never had it.
And they're talking, this could have been in California and the United States as early as January or even last November.
Oh, easily. I think I had it already.
A lot of people think they do.
A lot of people in Ridgecrest had it already.
Well, I know
A
lot of people had a cough they could not shake.
That was me. I'm like, I'll laugh at a joke, and I'm just dying.
And these are all symptoms of the coronavirus.
Yeah.
Now, you never heard of anyone losing their like sense of smell or taste, which is something that's
one person
that from
knew.
that had that sickness earlier in the year.
Yeah, and he said it was during like the middle of all this shit. And he's like, man, I went to the hospital. I lost my sense of smell and taste. Oh, it's not a coronavirus. Gets checked in. He's like, yeah, it's a coronavirus. Yeah,
well, Rudy Gobert, the first guy that like really closed down the world with his positive test, he still hasn't gotten full sense of smell and taste back yet. And that's been 3 months.
Yeah.
But I'm not putting any kind of faith in any of our medical professionals. Dr. Fauci is flip-flopping every week. First he says, you know, don't wear a mask. Then he says, well, do wear a mask. We just told you not to wear a mask because we didn't want you to hoard N95, N59 masks.
And now symptoms this and this and that. The coronavirus is going to be everything. If somebody gets sick with this, that's the coronavirus. It's always going to change. It's going to be what they want it to be.
Well, and people, you're hearing it all over the news and all over social media, as people are going to get the test just to see. And they don't actually show up. They just... they want to sign up to see what would happen. So they're signing up the paperwork, turning it in, and then going home.
Yep.
And then getting a call on the phone 2 or 3 days later, hey, you had a positive test.
Yeah.
And they're like, no, I didn't go. And they're like, well, we're still recording it.
Yeah.
So it means they're either mixing up tests or they're boosting numbers.
More money.
And they get away with it because so many people are asymptomatic.
Yeah,
so how can you say...
That's the biggest thing, too. Somebody that's not sick, you be like, hey, you got the coronavirus, man.
But and then at first they said asymptomatic people weren't contagious, and now they're saying they are. So what? So
it's going to be whatever they make it to be.
And people are like, oh, this is political and it's just going to last till November. No, it's not. Even after, we all pretty much think that Trump's going to win again because how is Biden going to beat him?
Yeah.
The only way I see Biden beating him is because you see a lot of athletes right now are trying to get minorities to sign up, especially black people in inner cities, to register to vote.
Yeah.
They're really pushing for that. So I could see a situation where enough liberals and people who are left sympathizing, like LeBron James, he sympathizes with the left side.
Yeah.
You know, and he does. You know, he's aligned himself with a lot of those people. So regardless of what their stance is, he's going to side with them.
Yeah.
Even if someone like a Hillary or a Joe Biden is running, white people who are old and can't relate to him or his struggles. He grew up poor as fuck with a single mom. How can Joe Biden relate to him? How is Joe Biden going to put anything into act that prevents kids like him from just going through the same shit he did?
Exactly.
LeBron James' ticket out was being a God-given talent. How many? We're not turning out LeBron James. There's not a LeBron James factory where we got these poor black kids just coming in being the next LeBron James. There's a reason why LeBron James will go down as probably the second best player of all time, because there's not anyone else out there like him. The people that are like him are all football players, but none of them are going to come over to basketball and be like him. You know, they're just not. And so I can see a scenario where LeBron James gets enough and like-minded people like LeBron James and these other athletes that are trying to get people signed up to vote. They're going to tell these people, you need to vote Democrat because they're on our side. And they're not. None of these politicians are on any of our sides. No one. Trump is a businessman, and he is about numbers. He wants numbers. He wants high viewing numbers. He wants the economy to do well. And so is that a bad thing? No. Is it a bad thing when you are insensitive to racial issues? Yes. Is it a problem when you are not feeling the heartbeat of America? Yes. The heartbeat of America right now is something has to be done about police injustice, racial injustice. And he's like, nah, that's not a problem. You know, exactly. And he's not doing anything to help his cause. If he were to just be like, nose to the grindstone, I'm not going to say anything fucked up, I'm not going to be snarky on Twitter, then he would make those people look so bad. But because he can't help himself, because he's a bully. He can't help him. He can't help himself from. Yeah, he sees someone criticize him on Twitter, and he's like, I'm about to end this whole man's career. I'm about to drop the mic.
Yeah, exactly.
And if he could just stop doing that, which you want your president to be professional. You want them to be real, but you want them to be professional, like Mark Cuban, like Greg Popovich, you know, and until we get more people like Donald Trump without the shitty personality, you know, we're just going to have more of the same. As soon as this race thing dies down, we're going to be right back here in 30 years. Our kids are going to have to deal with it, you know? Now, the fortunate thing is a lot of the videos you're seeing on Facebook where these racist white people are being exposed, they've always been racist. But right now, they feel like their back's against the wall. They're like, damn, all these people want to defund the police. They want to take away my Confederate flag. They want to take my guns. And so now the first time someone tells them, why aren't you wearing a mask? They're like, you want to fight? You know? And so you see these people, and the demographic seems to be like 45-year-old white people and older that are saying the N-word and while people are recording them, you go back to your country, or you stupid N-word, and you're seeing these people do that, and they've always been there. But you figure that demographic 45, they got another 20, 30 years left on this earth. People, you don't see a lot of people our age that are like that. And that because that population is getting smaller and smaller.
You meet people our age that have grandparents like that, and they tell you like,
they just warn you like that's family. They're just like, hey, I don't want you going to my grandparents. You know, I don't want you to be exposed to that.
They're 60, 70 years old.
And you can't always just tell those people that's not right. They're so entrenched in their ways. It doesn't matter what you tell them, you know, and you can do stuff like just not associate with that. You can just choose not to associate with that family and that's really what you should do. Now that's easier said than done. It's easier to tell someone to cut off a family member than it is to actually do it. You know, just like it's easier to tell someone to leave a shitty, toxic relationship than actually be one and get out of it yourself. You know, it's way easier to give advice than it is to take it. Yeah, and so I think that we see a different racial environment in 10, 15, 20 years from now, when a lot of these people that grew up in a time when it was okay to treat black people like shit, you're going to see those people not be around no more. And you're just going to start whittling down. And they've already said by like the year 2250, which we won't live to see, but that's, you know, 230 years from now, something like that there won't be any straight white people. We will have so much mixtures of different people,
types of shit
you know,
going on.
that the average person will be a light complected black person for the most part. You know, there'll be so much.
And you see it now, like all the interracial couples. And
Yeah.
Moving around, Mexican.
And think about it. 50 years ago, you didn't.
Yeah.
You didn't.
It was
If a
bad.
white person and a black person got together, man, they were
bad.
outcasts.
Yep.
You know, on both sides.
You got a white
On
couple.
both sides.
Yeah, exactly.
Even now, you see between black people, darker black people and light-skinned black people having beef with each
Yeah,
other.
they're like, oh, you look like.
You know, so it's on both sides. You got black people who are judged because they were with a white person, and white people that were judged even more for being with the black person.
Yep.
And even in 20 years from now, it'll be nothing. Even now, it's almost nothing.
Yeah.
Depending on where you're at. Here in Ridgecrest, I see it all the time.
Yeah.
In California, you see interracial couples all the time.
All the time.
It's not a big deal. No one thinks nothing of it. You know, here in Kern County, it's a little different. You still have some older people that still are about that life.
Yeah.
But for the most part, no one has the balls to say anything in public
Come out,
about it.
yeah.
You know, you won't hear any old person criticize, you know,
Yeah.
that in public.
Yeah.
You know, they might say it in the safety of their own home, but they're not saying it in public.
Talk to their wife about it.
Whereas maybe in like some parts of Alabama, some parts
Yeah,
of the
oh,
South,
yeah. Oh, yeah, it's terrible.
it's terrible still. Terrible still.
Horrible.
But those people are going to die out.
Yep.
And more of their kids are going to come away from that line of
Yeah.
thinking, because you already have seen it in progressive areas like California,
Yeah.
like popular areas in
And it's
Texas.
Like now, bro, you see a ton of white guys love black girls, and a ton of white girls love black guys, and black guys like love Mexicans, and this people stuff they're not used to.
Yeah.
It's crazy. It's a beautiful thing, but
And the thing is,
the way
we're moving towards it. But what's the end goal here? Let's say we get police reform. Good. You know, let's say we cut police budget by 25% across the board. That's good. We still have a problem of politicians who are taking money from taxpayers, who are diverting money to other rich people. We still have a broken judicial system where judges are issuing longer sentences to minorities than they are white people for the same crimes.
A lot of judges are
Older white people.
Yeah, grew up in that
I would, and why do we not have someone whose job, like, you know, the FBI and the CIA, they kind of keep each other in balance.
Yeah.
You know, if there's a scandal in the CIA, the FBI goes and investigates. If there's a scandal in the FBI, the CIA comes over and investigates. There's that balance, and they keep them in check. Why is there no one who's sitting there keeping tabs like, oh, this Judge Johnson, he's sentencing black people to twice as long sentences as these white people for the same crimes. That should alert someone, hey, we need to investigate. And they go through and they see, okay, well, a lot of these crimes, they were more violent. Okay, that makes sense. But they're not going to find that. What they're going to find is they're the same fucking crimes, but he gave this guy a 2-year sentence and this guy only a 1-year sentence. And so that's going to still be a problem even after all this happens if we don't turn our attentions to the right problems. They'll die out, and you're starting to see more females, more minorities become judges, you know, and that's good. You in a country like America, you have to have a variety of races in everything, in all walks of life, because how can, yeah, exactly. How if there's not Hispanic people in school systems, how does anyone know if the Hispanic children are given the same opportunities as white children? You know, and why is it that schools in inner cities, where I mean predominantly black or Mexican, they don't have the funding, they don't have the support that these schools in richer areas? Oh well, the taxes paid are different. Why? Yeah, why? Because their parents make more money. Do they get a better education? Yeah. Why is it that their kids get to go to school and not have to worry about gangs, drugs, violence? Why do their kids, just because their parents make more money? And I saw the most heartbreaking story of a black woman who lied about where she lived so that way she could get her kid into a better school. When they found out, she went to jail. She went to jail because it was mail fraud. She went to jail for mail fraud.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
To try and get her child a better education.
That's the issue.
We have a broken system, a broken judicial system. It's crazy. But people right now are only focusing on police. Police are bad.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. I saw a picture on Facebook, and it was one red tree in the middle of a green forest.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, saying that all police are bad is like saying this forest is red.
Yeah, yeah.
Because there's a couple, not a couple, but there's a small section of police that are bad. They're corrupt. Yeah. They do fucked up things. They murder.
They go out to kill.
And they go out to start shit. You know, the guy that killed George Floyd, he had like 8 other incidences
with black people,
with minorities. Yeah. And there's no one there to say,
hey,
that guy does not need to be out in the field, or that guy needs to be fired.
Yeah.
There's no one there to say that.
Is there, like, no record of, okay, wait, this seems kind of odd. Like, why is...
You know, and so our own police force and the police union are not protecting American citizens. You know, I think in California, I think it was in California. You have to have more hours as a barber trainee to become a barber than you do as a police officer trainee to become a police officer. You have to put in more hours to be a barber.
It's crazy.
And so let's say, you know, they get what they want, which is the removal of all old white people essentially off of statues. Yeah. They're tearing in all statues, even statues of slaves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Statues of people who freed slaves. Statues of that have nothing to do with slavery or Confederacy or slave traders. They're tearing everything down. So let's just say everything becomes neutral. The Redskins have their names changing. They're no longer going to be the Washington Redskins. I don't know if you saw that. So we're going to get all this stuff. The Atlanta Braves are going to have to change to the Atlanta fucking coal miners. And the Washington Redskins are becoming the Washington Senators. And, you know, we're going to get all of this stuff is neutral. And no one can be offended. We're still going to have the same problems because we still have old white judges putting away minorities. You got old white people putting in laws and controlling money, controlling taxpayer money, as long as they're good and they're making their money. Meanwhile, inner cities are just going to get worse, especially if there's no police.
Yeah.
If, let's say, they cut police budget in LA, which they're trying to do by 50%, all them inner cities are on their own, which means gangs are going to take over, which means look at how in Mexico the gangs run those areas.
Yeah, exactly.
The police, the Mexican police captured one of El Chapo's high-end guys. It started a war. The cartel rolled in and just started with fucking machine guns on the back of trucks, mowing down people until the president of Mexico released the guy. He said, we can't, I can't be responsible. I can't stop this.
Yeah.
They rolled in the military. The military couldn't stop them.
Yeah.
That is literally what's going to happen in LA. That's what's going to happen in a lot of these inner cities. Is a lot of innocent people are going to die. In Chicago, black on black crime is through the roof right now.
Crazy.
It's crazy. And that's got to stop.
It does.
We as American people need to stop killing each other.
And this issue's been going on for years.
Forever.
Years,
Ever.
Like you said, politicians have regular money, so I don't care about it.
They don't. Obama made his money. He didn't care about it.
Yeah.
Why is it that no police reform happened in his presidency, even though he always had an opinion about it? When Trayvon Austin?
Trayvon
Martin? When he was killed, he came out and he was like, oh, well, he could have been my son. Then why didn't you act like it was your son? Because it had it been one of his daughters who was killed by a white police officer, you and I both know that Obama would have started war with police. He would have. But he really didn't care. It wasn't his son. And to me, he's gotten to that point in politics where he's just like them other rich white people. He's got his money. He made it. Yeah, he's like, fuck all the rest of you. He can't relate to poor people. He's not relating to poor people. If he did, he's not buying a $12 million house when 120 homes could be built for underprivileged people.
Not trying to get back.
I in good conscience couldn't own a $12 million house when I know that
people are suffering.
People are suffering.
It's crazy 'cause you look at these movies when you see like the corrupt politicians and the drugs that are going around, and a lot of stuff it comes from somewhere. That shit's true.
It is true.
It comes from somewhere.
It does, and you look at there's some movies that are like what was it? There was this Will Ferrell movie.
It's really like that. Like politicians taking line coke. Okay, let's go do this.
Essentially, yeah. They are. These politicians get exposed all the time for spending taxpayer money on this little like trip. I think it was the CIA that got busted. What was it? CIA.
The ideas come from somewhere, and it's.
There was this. It was real recently. Essentially what was happening was they were paying for these trips for the CIA. They were paying for them with taxpayer money, and they were hiring hookers and buying cocaine and going to strip clubs, and they got found out. You know, and that's just what we know about. They got caught. They probably got caught by the FBI. They love catching each other doing stuff. They do. That's why I think that relationship there is so good, because they both like to call each other out. When the CIA slips up, the FBI is like, bam, look what they're doing. And then vice versa. But we have no one out there who's... The problem is there are people out there who are calling out politicians, but like, they're just crazy conspiracy theorists. That's what we say to them. Even though they're not. Like, yes, just like with every issue right now, just like with Black Lives Matter and police sympathizers, you got these people on either side who are just screaming at each other. And you got people in the middle that are like, you're crazy and you're crazy. And they take a little bit from each one. Well, just like with people who believe in political corruption and those who don't, you have these people over here who do believe in it. They're like, you have no idea. It goes all the way to the top. There's some truth to that. Just like there's some truth to Black Lives Matter and Police Lives Matter. There's truth to both of those. Just like there's truth to politicians are corrupt and some politicians aren't. There are good politicians. There's few.
They do their job. They don't care.
They're there trying to make a difference. Even some of the people I consider bad politicians, I still think that they're trying to do good. I do think that Obama wanted to do good during his presidency. I think that in theory, on paper, Obamacare was good, making sure everyone had health coverage, but poorly executed. Common Core Math was designed to challenge kids so that we had smarter kids coming out of school, poorly executed. So that's why I didn't get a lot of the hate that came Obama's way. I didn't agree with it. You know, I thought that he was shit on unfairly. Just like I think Donald Trump gets shit on unfairly. Just poorly executed. But that's a lot of the problems with Democrats is they have good intentions, but it's poorly executed. You know, giving illegal immigrants the same rights as Americans, poorly executed. I get the idea. These illegal... The thing is, if any one of us as American citizens lived in Mexico, you'd want the fuck out of there. It's bad. It's all bad. That's why Syrian refugees are coming here. That's why Venezuelan and Southern American, all these refugees want to come here. This is the promised land. Anything can happen. The American dream is still alive. It's still there. You know, unfortunately, Americans have lost sight of the American dream because we've now achieved it. The American dream back in the 70s was reaching middle class. And a lot of Americans have now done that. A lot of Americans have done that. You know, and a lot of Americans that haven't reached it gave up on the dream. People who lived on welfare. People like who are like the third generation living on welfare. Their grandparents collected, their parents collected, now they're collecting it. So they're like, that's their dream. I don't got to work.
I'm good. I can do what I want. I can sit on the block. I'm good.
And so you have these crazy conspiracy theorists who are yelling out about political corruption, but we're all dismissing them as crazy conspiracy theorists. But it's true. And now...
Just like every other guy, whatever, want to go out to strip clubs and do it. They do that.
They do. But
because they had to go to college and do all this.
But when you're a public figure, you have to maintain a level of professionalism. That's why, you know, if I heard Donald Trump got caught at a strip club, I don't care. If I find out that Donald Trump used the N-word and behind closed doors because he thought no one was listening, I got a problem with that. If I find out Donald Trump is taking money from American citizens, I got a problem with that. But do I got a problem with him blowing off some steam at the strip club?
Yeah.
Hell no. Obama, was known for going out and playing golf all the time. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
People criticize him. They're like, oh, he could be doing something better with that time.
He's a human.
He's a human. He needs. You can't just be
that guy.
the president 24/7 for 8 years.
Yeah.
Like, he deserves a vacation. He deserves to do something recreational.
Get
Yeah.
sometime, maybe take a little sip.
If I found out Obama had been in a strip club, I don't give a shit, man.
Like, my guy, which one was it?
Like, you do you, bro.
Yeah. But it's crazy.
But when you find out that taxpayer money is being used for it,
that's what
for a strip club or for blow or for hookers,
I paid for that, and I wasn't there.
I paid for that. Hell yeah.
Invited?
That's why when people tell me like, oh, you can't do something at this public place, what are you talking about? I own a portion of this.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, they tell you, like, you can't do something at a park. You can't go to a park. Fuck you. I paid for that park.
Yeah. I paid for that slide right there.
Yeah.
That's my name on it.
Like, mind-boggling that our government views us as the servants and not them.
Not them.
They're the servants. We are not.
Yeah.
We are their bosses.
Yeah. They're there to serve us.
But they don't view it that way.
They're like, no, it is my country.
Well, and
My
they
name's
say,
on it.
right? They say I'm the president, so you got to listen to what I say.
Yeah.
I'm
Whatever I say goes.
I'm the treasure. I'm all these people. Like, even on our local government, our city manager does not feel like he works for the people. Our city council do not feel like they work for us people. That's why you see. Not sorry, but Lindsay Stevens does not feel like that she is consulting the people. Wallace Martin, before he got outed, did not feel like he was listening to the people. Were there people that
they have that power and they abuse it?
Right? They feel that they know better.
Yeah.
And
I'm right, you're wrong.
And were there people that support Lindsay Stevens and Wallace Martin? Yeah. But do the majority of Ridgecrest people believe in Lindsay Stevens or Wallace Martin? No.
Yeah.
And if they had any feel for the pulse of Ridgecrest, they would know that
No bueno.
no. Just like I don't think a lot of people disagree with the casino coming to town. I think that the only problem I have with it is the placement. Right across the way from Emmanuel Christian School and right in front of the front gate to the base, which is beautiful. We have a beautiful base.
Yeah.
It is very well kept. And you're putting a casino right near it.
There. To get garbaged up and whatever's going to happen.
In a town that already has issues with drugs and poverty.
Yeah.
And places like casino and things like, I heard a really funny. I heard a really funny. Someone was talking about the lottery, and it was like on Facebook, and they had a really funny answer to it. Like, they're like, "Oh, I'm just gonna win the lottery," or something like that. And the guy said the lottery is poor people tax.
Yeah. Oh,
And it is.
That's money right there.
It is a tax on poor people, because all these poor people put $1, $3, $10 in a week over a year, and it's poor people tax because middle class people and rich people don't play the lottery.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't.
They're like,
It's poor people tax.
even me, I'm like kind of iffy on it. I'm like, shit, nah.
And so.
But you always see like the dude outside the gas station.
And a casino is basically poor people tax. So it
gives them hope.
It preys. It really does. It preys on poor people.
Yeah. Because they're over there like, oh, I can be. They fantasize about it.
I can hit big,
I can hit that right
and I could change my life.
Yeah.
I could win that $10,000 and buy a car.
All I need is another.
I could win that $100,000
Yeah.
and my life's changed. And next thing you know, like I had to work with a guy over to Lutic that said him and his wife, they had to move from Vegas to here because they were betting entire paychecks.
Oh, I believe it.
They'd get their paycheck, go to the casino, and lose it. Couldn't pay the rent. They took their rent checks and lost it.
Yep.
And that's going to come here to Ridgecrest and do the same fucking thing. That's why I thought the better place for it was out in Inyokern.
Yeah.
Because the only people that were able to get to it would be people who are driving out there.
Yeah.
And you're not going to see poor people who can barely afford to get around, period, going out there as much. They wouldn't have as easy access to it. And the type of people that are going to go roll up in there, we have meth heads walking the streets all day, every day.
Yeah.
And so you're talking about all these meth heads that are going to be hanging around that area with a school right across the way.
Yeah.
And so the only people that... So you got people that were super against this casino, and then you got people that are against it just because of the placement, and then you got people that are like, no, it's fine.
Yeah.
So you have, I would say probably 75% of people don't really have a problem with the casino.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, though, Martin Wallace, Lindsey Steven, and Maurer all opposed it, and they put Richards had already agreed to that casino coming in.
Yeah,
well, then Maurer came in while it was in the process, and now they outnumbered the people that were for it on the city council. They almost cost Ridgecrest over $1 million in legal fees by breaking that contract. Meanwhile, 75% of people don't really care that it's coming. They just, the small people, like, they just don't like where it's at. But they're still for it coming to Ridgecrest because of more jobs, more money. Now, me as a person, I have no faith in our local government. So what does it matter that it's making us more money if people are just going to mismanage it?
It's just going to go in their pocket.
Go in someone's pocket. A couple years ago, they misplaced $1.8 million.
Question mark, where?
And people just forgot about it.
Yeah.
$1.8 million of taxpayer money and government funding went somewhere to people's pockets. And so this casino is going to bring us all this local revenue and tax money. But they're just it's gonna make someone more money. So even on a local level, we have no faith in our government. I have no faith in our local government at all. I have no faith in the government as a whole, and that's a sad thing considering the government on paper is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
The checks and balances, Congress, Senate, and the White House. You have a balance there.
Yeah.
You don't have just a dictator saying this is how it's going to go, and if you don't like it, fuck you.
Yeah, get out.
You have the House that keeps the Senate and the Senate that keeps Congress all in check. So on paper, it's a beautiful system, but unfortunately, we have a bunch of fucking idiots and crooks running it.
Hey, bro, I'll help you out.
Exactly. Like, hey, how about you send... Hey, I got this company in Ukraine, this energy company. You send them $40 billion, and I'll launder it, and in the end, you and I are going to make like $5 million a piece, or $100 million a piece. And you have a bunch of idiots and crooks. Yeah. And that's just not assuming that there's this secret new world order cooking that people are suspicious of now. George Soros. Tell me why George Soros, a 100-year-old white man, is donating $200 million to like $220 million to Black Lives Matter. Why? Why? Why is an old white man who's been behind working the scenes forever, why is all of a sudden now he's donating $220 million to Black Lives Matter? Because the Black Lives Matter movement right now encompasses the people that are really trying to make a difference, the people that are just trying to fucking destroy everything, and the people over here that want the racial inequality to go the other way.
Yeah.
You have a big majority of the Black Lives Matter that's good, that's really trying to make a difference, doing it peacefully. You got this small section over here that's just trying to destroy everything, and this small section over here that wants the racial inequality flip-flopped.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, funding this means you're also funding this.
Yeah, you're funding all of it.
And that's why I've been very selective in what organizations I sponsor and what things I give money to. Because you give money to the Black Lives Matter movement, you're funding the whole thing. So George Soros gives $220 million to this cause. They're bailing out people who are being arrested for fucking up, for destroying shit.
Yeah.
They're bailing them out with that money to come out and destroy it some more.
Cause havoc.
And then because these people are getting back out and continue to make destruction, and because they're empowered to destroy in the first place, these people in the middle who are doing it peacefully, they're being arrested, they're being shot with rubber bullets. How many pictures have you seen of people being shot with rubber bullets where they're messed up? If all of them were peaceful, let's say there was no rioting, no destruction, people like back in the civil rights movement who were doing it peacefully, if they're being shot in the face with rubber bullets, everyone who's on the fence is outrage.
Yeah.
But right now, because these people are destroying shit and fucking shit up, these people see them shot in the face with a rubber bullet or killed, asphyxiated with tear gas. There was a white girl who was coming out peacefully protesting. She died of asphyxiation because she had asthma from the tear gas they were using. And people who are in the middle, they're like, she shouldn't have been there. Or that black dude who got shot in the face with a rubber bullet, he was probably robbing a store or looting. So because these people over here, the small percent over here, destroying everything, it's killing any movement from peacefully protest. Because I know me as a person, if I saw that shit and I knew I could make it, like right now, there's no point in me going out there and joining that shit. There's not. Because right now, unfortunately, the movement is being diluted from that small section of people who are destroying shit. It is. The movement's being diluted. Me going out there is putting myself at risk. And all those people out there right now rioting and looting.
They're just trying to get, they don't care about this movement.
They don't care about the movement. It's an opportunity.
For themselves. They're like, oh, yeah,
it's
my time now.
It's an opportunity.
They don't care about that shit.
Exactly.
They won't sit there and not loot. They won't just go out there and protest.
They won't. They're not gonna be the ones sitting in the front taking rubber bullets to the face.
They're not. They're getting up what they want.
Exactly. And in this, if the civil rights leaders could see how this was going on, if you brought Martin Luther King Jr. back, he would make sure that got fractioned off. Like there's no room for that in this movement. And if anyone had a right to become violent, it was those people. I mean, how many civil rights people were assaulted, brutalized, and or murdered for just standing there? If anyone had a right to get violent, it was them.
Now it's people over here like, oh yeah, they're starting to move it. Okay, let's go break into Walmart.
Yeah.
Let's go break in their local mom and pop shops too.
That's exactly, and it's
they're gonna break into their local mom and pop shop.
And up in Minneapolis, after the George Floyd killing, they burned down the Target there. How many people are now out of jobs because of that? They just destroyed a place that was employing probably a lot of minorities. Not only that, they're breaking into mom and pop shops, which are owned by minorities.
Local uncles and aunts and grandmas and fucking it up.
Who have now lost everything.
No, they're out. They're done.
Yeah.
Game over.
And crazy, it's crazy. And that's why it's not safe to join this movement right now. And eventually it's going to escalate to the point where they're going to roll in the military. And then it's really not safe for anyone
to even be outside.
To be outside. If this movement was 100% peaceful and no one allowed to... And unfortunately, a lot of people that are inciting that are white people. You have these Antifa little fuckers coming out, bricks, baseball bats, and telling minorities, hey, let's go fuck up this store. You know, I literally saw a video of this little Antifa shit who was telling black people things to grab to go break stuff. I saw a video of a black woman calling out these two white bitches because they were spray painting over businesses. And she said, they're going to blame us for this, not you. They're going to blame us. And so this Black Lives Matter movement, the first thing y'all need to do is stop letting these white people come out and dilute your movement. These little Antifa shits are not good for the anti-fascism. What it should be is they're anarchists. You know, if you're anti-fascist, then how can you be a socialist? Socialism is literally where fascism is bred. So you're against the thing you're really actually supporting. You know, they want to destroy the government, but they're also being fueled by the liberal left. And so this Black Lives Matter movement, you need to stop letting white people come in and destroy shit. Because it reflects negatively on the Black Lives Matter movement.
It's all messed up.
It's all bad.
It's not going to solve anything.
It's not, because we're going to be back here in 30 years. This is all going to die down. The next thing will happen, swine flu. They're already talking about second coming of swine flu, second coming of the Black Plague.
It's all,
And it'll just be it'll be distraction after distraction after distraction. Right now, I'm trying to help, and there's a big movement calling out child pedophilia. Chrissy Teigen just deleted 28,000 tweets because people went back and started reading her tweets, and there was some really disturbing things that people took screenshots of. Her talking about children in a very creepy sexual way.
What?
Her talking about pizza, which is known code talk for pedophilia. Emails are coming out from these rich people. How can I get pizza? How can you deliver pizza? And it's now you saw the thing about Wayfair, right?
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Where they're selling furniture,
yeah,
and the names on the furniture were of missing children,
yeah.
and a cabinet was costing $10,000. And you look the SKU, you Google it, and it was of a missing child,
Yeah.
a case number for a missing child. And how quickly did that die out?
Yeah.
We're not talking about it. That was a week ago.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're already not talking about it anymore.
No,
And Epstein was murdered before he could out all these people because Epstein and now that girl Maxwell, they don't want to go to jail for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
They want to take a plea deal, get 5-10 years, early release. Life's not over. The only way that happens though is they give up celebrities. And we're talking the Clintons. I heard rumor of Trump being on these planes that were going out to his island. And if Trump gets caught, I hope he burns too.
Yeah.
I hope all these people that are exposed for pedophilia are exposed and burned at the cross.
Yeah.
Because you cannot cure pedophilia.
Yeah,
You can't. It is worse than a disease.
Yeah.
It's wrong wiring. There's no medication and there's no fixing it. And just like if a dog,
you can abuse somebody, and if they're still living, they'll come out. They're gonna do it again.
if your neighbor's dog comes and bites you and draws blood, and you call animal control or the police, that dog's put down for biting you. A human rapes a child or another woman or another man, and they go to jail and they come back out 10, 15, 20 years later. Do you think they changed in that 20 years? Fuck no, they didn't. Because there's no treatment for pedophilia.
There's a dude I just seen. He was in prison 20 years, about to get released, and he admitted. He said, "I'm gonna come out and do it again." Admitted.
And they will admit themselves. There's nothing that can be done to change it. And I feel for those people. I can't imagine someone telling me that because I like women that you're wrong, and if you ever are with a woman, you're gonna go to jail.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's the only thing I've known.
Yeah.
And for someone to tell me that I can't be that way, that would be fucked.
Yeah.
But there are, I would imagine there is probably 10 to 100,000 pedophiles in the United States that don't act on it because they know it's wrong, because they know the consequences.
They see in their head, but they're like,
but they know the consequences. So to say that these people can't help themselves is bullshit. Because I can help myself from raping women. You don't see me out there raping women. I don't.
Or even like the young girls or whatever. Like even nowadays, it's even more out there because these 13, 14, 15-year-old girls, 16, halfway going to school with halfway.
And girls, younger women are more developed now than they were back in the day.
Way
and
but you know in your head, you're like,
it's wrong. It's wrong, morally and legally.
Yeah.
It's wrong to be with someone younger, and it's against the law. You're gonna go to jail. So me knowing that,
but even just looking at it, that's a little girl.
Even knowing that, I know I don't act on it.
Yeah.
And so I know that there's pedophiles out there, and I guess they're not pedophiles; they don't act on it, but people that are attracted to children that don't act on it because they know it's wrong. So don't tell me that these people that acted on it couldn't help themselves.
Yeah.
They can. I don't act on my primal urges.
Yeah.
You know, we're animals. Yeah. When we see the opposite sex or whatever sex that we're attracted to, the reason why you're attracted to them is because you see them as a potential mate for having children. That's how we're designed. When you're attracted to someone, it's because you see them as an ideal mate for having children. But we don't act on that. Yeah. Animals do. Dogs do. Dogs see. They're like, oh shit, she's in heat. I'm gonna jump on that.
Straight cats and shit. Just,
yeah.
Now.
And so we would be the same way if we weren't intelligent.
Yeah.
But we are intelligent. We know it's wrong or if they say no. If a woman says no.
Yeah. Okay.
If a woman shoots you down, you know that's it.
Yeah, it's game over. Yeah.
We know that's, and so for a man to rape a woman, that's a conscious decision. That's why they go to jail. But these child pedophiles who can't help it, but they do still act out on it.
Yeah.
We don't do what's right, which is put them down. Yep. You put a dog down for doing something instinctual to them. Yeah. Attacking, there's a reason for it.
Yeah.
And that's just drawing blood.
Yeah.
These pedophiles prey on our children and damage our children. Yeah. It is damaging mentally, emotionally, physically. You know, I heard a story of this girl in like Sweden or Switzerland. She had been molested at like 8 years old.
Yeah.
And it fucked her up so bad that when she turned 18, she got medical suicide.
Wow.
She got it approved by a doctor because she said she could not live with herself. She couldn't live with it. So at 18 years old, a doctor put her to sleep forever.
Wow.
That's how damaging that is. That she felt the only way she could escape that trauma was to be gone. And so, but because people, there's this faction of people out there that believe pedophiles have rights.
That's crazy.
They're essentially shitting on the rights of children and women by letting them continue to go out and pray again.
And a lot of people, a lot of pedophiles that come out and
they're still on the hunt, waiting for their time.
Oh, I get a second chance. Come on, let's do it right.
There's a reason why there's a place like a thing called Megan's Law.
Yeah.
Where you can track it because you should know. Yeah. You need to know who's in your neighborhood. Yeah. You need to know if your child is safe to be out front for 5 seconds while you go inside to grab something. Because if your neighbor is a pedophile, you know it's not safe to turn around for 5 seconds. You know it's not safe to blink.
Yeah. Crazy.
But because people think that they should have rights too, that's why they continue to get to prey on them. And we're
like that, you don't have rights anymore.
And so I think what's unfortunately going to happen when this child pedophile ring, and we're going to find out how big it is, and it's huge.
Yeah, I believe it.
Huge.
I believe it.
If it wasn't a profitable business, people wouldn't do it. Yep. That's why in that Netflix documentary about drugs, they talk about cocaine, and that they tried to convince farmers to grow these other crops, but it was just too profitable to grow coca.
Yeah.
It's just too profitable. It's too easy, too profitable. That there was nothing they could do to help these farmers want to grow corn, grow potatoes, grow anything else. And so if there was no market for children, no one would be kidnapping them.
Yeah.
If there wasn't a market for women ages 11 to 21, they wouldn't be getting snatched up.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know, grown women, adult women get snatched up and never seen again.
Again, gone, disappeared.
Because they're now put into this sex trafficking where they will be used and then murdered.
Yep.
Crazy. And if there wasn't a market for it, it wouldn't happen. If there was no market for cocaine, there would be no one growing coca.
Yeah.
There wouldn't.
But
there is a market for it. So that means the market is huge.
Has to be.
Otherwise, you would not have millions of kids a year go missing. And it's not even just the United States. Like 3 years ago, I think it was Kenya, these warlords came in and snatched up like 30 girls from an all-girls school. Came in with guns, took 30 of them, dipped. And they were sold as child brides and sex slaves to rich people all across the world.
Yep.
I saw a crazy thing recently. Who was it? It was this celebrity, and he had adopted this little Asian girl.
I think I heard something about that.
And now he's married to her.
Yeah, I heard about that.
So what do you think that little girl went through her whole life?
Crazy.
We're allowing this to happen right in front of us.
I heard that.
Woody Allen.
Wow.
Woody Allen, in 1997, 62-year-old, he married, in 97, married his 27-year-old daughter.
Oh, I seen that.
He adopted her.
Man.
And
I
so,
remember hearing shit about that. That's some crazy stuff.
so tell me what you think that little girl went through her entire childhood.
Yep.
She was being groomed.
Yep.
She was.
To be
his eventual wife.
What age was he already touching her and feeling her and doing all? Yeah.
Bet you wasn't 18.
Yeah, I bet you wasn't.
And I'll bet you to this day she's not free.
Yep. Still doing the same shit.
And we're allowing this to happen right in front of us. And we have all this movement. You know, the Wayfair thing happened, and that should have been everyone's wake-up call. I shared that post today on Facebook. If we reported the amount of missing children daily, the way we do these COVID numbers, people would be would be like, oh shit, this is a problem. But instead, because all we see is one of our friends sharing every once in a while, hey, my homie's stepdaughter is missing. Share this, you know, hopefully this gets out there and we can find her. And that's all we see is when it's close to us.
Close, yeah, exactly.
Someone we know or someone we know that they know. That's the only time it's real for us. And it has to become real for everyone.
Yeah.
You know, because they're not snatching up middle class and rich people's kids. They're stealing poor people's kids because poor people don't have the resources to go find them. Do you think if Barack Obama's daughter went missing that we wouldn't find her? You'd find something. Even if it was a dead body, you're going to find something. But we have, you know, if your or I's child goes missing, we don't have the resources to make sure we find them. We might never see them ever again.
We have to make that Facebook share and post.
And try to raise any money we can and pray.
Yep, that's it.
That's it. That's all we can do. And that's why they prey on poor people. That's why they prey on third world countries. They're going over these, you know, why do you think that in other countries sex trafficking is even worse? In China, sex trafficking is and child trafficking is crazy. I saw a video the other day of a fucking monkey trying to run off with a kid. This little kid was sitting on a like a porch with their older sibling. The older sibling must have been like 5 or 6, and this was like 2 or 3, walking but just barely. This monkey rolls up on this little motorcycle. I'm gonna fucking show you this video.
What? A monkey? Wow. What in the world?
Now you tell me.
Wow.
You tell me. How many monkeys you think are doing that untrained?
Yeah. Wow.
You'll see videos.
Oh, yeah.
There's literally compilations of how quickly
that they take them up.
that they take them.
Yeah.
And this isn't a Dollar General. We have a Dollar General.
That quick. Where's he at?
And this is this is her mom is right there.
Yeah.
Her mom, look, he's dragging both of them in broad daylight.
Wow. But that was like a 12-year-old kid. Like that was.
Yeah, it's not even a.
Oh hell!
Look. And this man or woman, it looks like a man. It's probably, oh, I thought he was lost and I was just going to help him outside. No, that old motherfucker was going to take him out to his van, take him home, that child home, and do unspeakable horrors to him. But meanwhile, we're allowing this shit to continue to happen. They're recruiting other kids to kidnap kids. And now they're raising fucking monkeys. Look, kids.
Wow. Wow.
Broad daylight.
That is crazy. Wow.
And Aaron, this is a video from 2016. These are just 7. They're using 7. I bet you there's hundreds, if not thousands, of videos of these things caught during broad daylight, and we're just letting it happen. We're not looking out for each other. We're not looking out for children. I see children. I'm at work, and I kid you not, I saw 3 kids walk by, and I see them walk by almost daily. The oldest is younger than Kyron, and there's 3 of them. The one's probably 7 years old, maybe 8 years old like Kyron, not as big as Kyron. And then the other ones are like 4 and 3.
Yeah.
Walking on Richcrest Boulevard almost every day.
It sucks because sometimes, like, the mom or maybe a single mom, and they have to, like, they're out risking their lives over this, but they have to do it. There's no other way to get home. There's no other way to, they just have to.
But, you know, like, that parent, I don't let Kyron go anywhere by himself. I don't even let him stay outside by himself.
Of course, single mother working, like, okay, watch your brother and sister, you have to walk.
Or can you imagine her just feeling comfortable enough? My mom felt comfortable enough letting us
just go
walk out. We lived in a not so great neighborhood when we were kids.
Like, go outside, go play.
Yeah.
Get on my face.
You know, and you know, we don't. If I saw some kind of altercation, I'm running after them.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, you've seen a lot of these videos. Did you see? Look in that video with the monkey.
Yeah.
No one came running to stop him.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
You know, and some of these, I look in that Dollar General one where he's dragging the little girl out.
You see the
where
like running around, like,
where is everyone else?
Yeah.
Where is everyone else? Nobody wants to get involved with anything. No one wants to put themselves at risk.
Yeah.
You know?
Exactly.
No.
Man.
And that is a huge problem. You know, if there was ever a real war, you wouldn't see people signing up for it like they did back in World War II.
No,
because
like,
we're too afraid of ourselves. We only worry about ourselves.
Selfish.
You know, we don't look at the greater good. We don't look at what we're fighting for.
Just like, no, I'm going to stay home with my family. I'm good.
Yeah, my family's not affected.
Yeah.
You know?
Why would I fight?
Why would I go put myself at risk when I don't have to? You know, I do believe that there's some things worth dying for. Saving other people and protecting other people, it's worth dying for. But that's a dying sentiment.
I like for 20 others?
Yeah, or like, you know, I see some motherfucker trying to run off with a girl. I'm not thinking, does he have a gun or a weapon? I got to go try and save that girl.
Yeah.
It's worth putting my life at risk for it. But people, you know, we're living in a cell phone culture where when something happens, first thing everyone does is pull out their phone. I can't tell you how tired I am of seeing people rescuing someone and someone's recording it. There's no way could have been no help.
And zooming in and shit,
like standing there recording it. Or recording people.
That's crazy. The first instinct for them
is people to pull out their phone. And it's only gonna get worse with technology. When people's glasses start recording shit.
Yeah.
Do you think then they're gonna go to help? Hell no, they're gonna stand there and watch, hands free.
Yeah. Click. Oh shit. Like, oh no.
Yo, world star.
Yeah.
You know, it's a problem. It is because we don't care about our neighbors.
That's why I'm scared to have kids and I have a Leah and then another kid because 20 years from now.
Who knows? Even the world we live in now,
it's scary.
especially with Aaliyah, there are.
My grandparents, they say they're like, this world is messed up.
It is messed up, especially because you look at what our founding fathers fought for. I mean, when the colonists fought back against the British, they were up against insurmountable odds. They were farmers and butchers and they weren't soldiers. Going up against trained soldiers, outnumbered, but they knew that fighting for their freedom was worth it. People who fought in World War I and World War II knew that fighting the Axis and then fighting Hitler, it had to be done. You could not let Hitler control the world, which is what he was going to do.
It was worth it.
And now we don't see that it's worth fighting child pedophilia.
You don't see the worth in anything nowadays, I don't think.
Well, and it's hard to get behind this war in the Middle East because it's political. It was and is political.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't. 9/11. I think most people feel the sentiment that it was an inside job.
Yeah.
So how can anyone feel good about this fight in the Middle East when no one believes that it was legit?
It was yeah.
You know.
And you see documentaries about these people in the Middle East and how they don't have the technology that we have.
Well, and they didn't care about us until this all started.
Yeah, exactly. And then now, yeah.
And now we're the enemies. Now all Americans are the enemies. The American dream is the enemy.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and so I feel what's going to happen is there is going to be another attack, and it's going to be blamed on Russia or China.
Yep.
And what better way to get rid of your debt to China? Because we have a $1 trillion debt to China.
Oh yeah.
Let's see.
Bathroom. Can you tell how many people are on there watching?
Right now, it's just as one person watching.
Who's
That
watching?
didn't say.
Who's watching me? Man, 1.1 trillion.
So that's how much we owe China right now. What better way to wipe that debt than to say that China attacked us, another 9/11 happens, and say it was China's fault, find a way to say it was China, prove it was China, and then go to war with them. And then you win that war, and part of the deal is, since you lost the war, we don't have to pay you that 1.1 trillion.
Gone.
Essentially.
Yeah.
You know? When after World War I happened, because Germany was one of the biggest instigators, the United Nations forced Germany to pay restitution to the Allies.
Yeah.
And that created a great animosity amongst the German people because, Germany obviously took a huge hit having to pay back all these other countries millions of dollars back in the 1920s. And by the time Hitler came along, he was saying, fuck all these other countries. Fuck these Jews for causing all this trouble. Let's kill them.
Yeah.
And let's take over the world and let's make Germany great again.
Yeah.
And
one race. One perfect race.
Exactly. And the greatest, and that's why I think the next thing that happens is an attack on the United States that's blamed on China or Russia or any of these countries that would be advantageous to go to war with. And a good way to distract people, especially if this pedophile thing's out. Let's say that Maxwell girl doesn't get suicided, and she outs, let's say the Clintons, Trump, any number of celebrities. What do you think is going to fucking happen?
Yeah.
Something is going to happen that just drops all of our attention, and it'll likely be an attack.
Yeah.
It'll likely be a staged attack.
That's going to kill a lot of people.
A lot of people, and it'll be blamed on someone else. So then everyone's like, "Oh, well, fuck them." Just like after 9/11 happened, everyone's like, "Fuck the Middle East. Let's go. Let's drop bombs on these motherfuckers right now." And everyone was pissed off because France didn't want to get involved, and Japan didn't want to get involved. The only ones who were willing to get involved was the United Kingdom, England.
Yeah.
They're the only ones who were willing to come join us.
Yeah.
And so everyone was like, well, fuck France. We're not going to call French fries. We're going to call them freedom fries. People were so upset that no one would jump on it.
Yeah, and help. But was it inside? It's crazy. In all the movies and documentaries of conspiracy theories.
Oh, there's been so many.
It's like.
And I am a firm believer where.
People going like, oh, yeah, I heard this, and this was supposed to go down, and that happened.
Well, and they said that those steel beams should have been able to withstand a fire, even if those fuel tanks had been full.
Yeah, exactly. It should have,
And there was words of detonations going off.
Yep. In the building.
In the building. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's wild.
All fucked. And the crazy thing is it wasn't just the people we lost in those planes and in the building. It's the people who have died since.
Yeah.
Because people have died from cancer. People have died from all the shit that came out because they were in that vicinity.
Yeah.
You know, so many first responders died from cancer later on. And if anyone was ever able to prove that was an inside job, people would revolt.
Yep.
They would turn on the government.
It would be all bad.
Yeah.
And crazy thing is, we'll never know. We'll never know the truth.
We won't.
Yeah.
I could see Donald Trump
Knowing,
and then maybe once he's done being like, fuck everyone. Tell everyone.
Yep. Yeah, right. I doubt it.
Be him, watch him roll out and he's like,
You know
y'all,
9/11, right?
watch him be like, yo, they got aliens.
It was aliens.
They got aliens, bruh. Down at Area 51, they're dissecting them. They're having sex with them, probing them. The CIA's over there with hookers. They bought hookers for the aliens, showing them some American hospitality.
Bro,
I could see Trump doing that when he's done, being like, I'm about to end everyone's career.
After the 8 years.
Yeah, I can see him doing it.
I'm gonna tell you all the secrets.
If Obama was real, he would have done it, but he ain't real.
Yeah, he's real.
You ain't real, bruh. You ain't a day one, or else you would have told us, bruh.
Yeah.
You smoked a little weed in college, so you thought that made you cool, but it didn't.
There's some little movie out with him on Netflix, I believe.
Well, the thing is,
his little life story, college story.
Yeah, you hear about who he was as a kid, and I can't believe, knowing who he was as a young man, that he could like start drinking the Kool-Aid, being a part of that problem.
That problem, yeah.
You know, because he's now part of that rich, elite, broken system. He bought into their shit.
Yep.
You know, just like the Clintons did. The Clintons went in with no net value, and now they're worth a boatload.
Yeah.
A boatload. Don't tell me it's their books they've written.
Yeah.
Bill Clinton got his dick sucked in the White House, and homie still made out. You know? Hillary stayed with his dumb ass.
Yep.
And then
she's like, money's coming.
Money's coming.
She knew it.
It was more advantageous for her to stay with him.
Coming.
If she divorces him, she never becomes president.
Yeah.
Never.
Yep.
Never. You know, she stayed in that political circle, and she knew.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of people do that in relationships.
Yeah.
It's too advantageous for them politically or socially. They don't want to lose all their friends.
Yep. So
They don't want the embarrassment of the divorce amongst their
the
friends.
social media, the this, the that, yeah. Exactly. The pictures, the secrets
Yeah.
that come out.
Oh, yeah. And I hope we do find out who all is involved in this Epstein thing.
Yeah.
And I hope that we do start. Why is, we have the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, that makes sure they crack down on drugs. What task force do we have out there for sex trafficking, child trafficking? There's not.
Yeah, there's not.
We're leaving up to the FBI and the CIA. We see how fucked those agencies are. And why do we not have... How is it that people are able to take our children out of the United States? How is it that people are able to, traffic children in from out of the United States?
Yeah.
They talk about this port, one of the ports in one of these Middle Eastern country, not Middle Eastern, South Asian countries, and there's this port where a lot of drugs is exported, meth tabs are exported out. And you show up and they're like, well, how is it so much gets out? They're like, we can't check all of these cargo containers.
Yeah, everything.
Okay, well, that might be true for them, but how is that true for our country?
Yeah.
How do any drugs get through?
Yeah.
And I believe it is. I do think that they are trying to crack down on drugs, but I also think that they are the ones that release it out because they've already were exposed.
They allow the drugs that they want to allow, not the outsource of...
Exactly. They don't want other people profiting from it.
Yeah.
They don't want no one to profit.
Yeah.
They just want to use it as a weapon to literally destroy inner cities.
Yep.
They do.
Yep.
They want inner cities to stay the way they are because they want those people to be reliant on the government.
Yep.
And inner cities are reliant on the government.
Yep.
A lot of those people are on government assistance, and hanging on by a thread. And it shouldn't be that way. Those places should have.
Of food stamps, and that food it lasts them the whole month. If they do something wrong, that last week of the month, they're not eating or something.
Or they're having to use those food stamps they're having to sell them at a discount, so that way they have cash to pay their bills.
Do something, yeah, exactly.
You know, and so these inner cities are the ones suffering because of it, because of the war on drugs. Not only is the government pumping drugs into these inner cities, they're also the ones going in to arrest them for it and putting them in jail. And what do you think these people who are just trying to make a living selling drugs, small time, petty, what do you think will happen when they go back and they go into jail? They come out of jail, they can't get a job. They can't do shit, so they have to go back to what they're doing. Going back into jail, back and forth, and each time they do, they get up and up and up in security. Next thing you know, they're having to join gangs to stay alive. Now they're hardened. Now they get out of jail, and they're some of the scariest motherfuckers ever. Just because at one point they were trying to make a living. You know, we're not putting anything. Yeah, and why should any inner city kid believe that school is the answer?
Yeah, exactly.
If they're not gifted educationally, you know, if it doesn't click for them, if they're not geniuses, let's say they just get a 3.0, where are they going?
Yeah, exactly.
That's not getting you a scholarship.
You can go
Nowhere. You know, some of these kids are able to escape with.
Go to college,
Can't go to college. So what are you gonna do? Work at McDonald's? You gonna go work at McDonald's? Fuck no. Fuck no. You're selling drugs.
Yep. Make the room money until you get caught up.
And because our government is putting nothing into trying to lift those people up, it's gonna be more of the same forever.
Cycle.
To the end of time. You know, these people think that defunding the police means money's gonna come back to them. No, it's not. It's more money for the government to mismanage.
Yep. Oh shit!
And went missing. Holy shit! That $45 million we just took from LA County Police, it's gone. We don't know what happened to it. We were gonna use it for inner cities, but no one knows what happened to it.
Yeah. It is erased. I don't know. Man, it's crazy.
It's all crazy, and all of this shit is distractions. I love Will Smith.
Yeah.
But I think that whole Will Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith thing,
entanglements.
I literally believe that to be a distraction.
Yeah.
I would bet a month's pay that was 100% set up.
Yeah.
100% a setup. Why else would on live television you break the news that you cheated on your husband?
Yeah.
Was Will Smith involved? Maybe not. Was Jada Pinkett Smith involved?
Yeah.
I guarantee you she got a cool $10 million to go on live television, tell her husband I got entangled with another man. Entangled. AKA I got my back blown the fuck out by homeboy. And you saw the look on Will Smith's face.
Yeah.
It's almost as bad as the Jordan meme. The crying Jordan meme, it's almost as bad.
Man, what a story.
I do, like, right after that Maxwell bitch gets arrested and the Wayfair thing happened, right after that, she says that on live TV. Hey, Jada, you know, this is fucking whoever, Joe Biden or whatever, whoever's the puppet master, George Soros, calls up Jada and like, hey, I'll give you $10 million to go on live TV, tell everyone you fucking cheated on your husband. And she's like, bet.
Yeah, let's do it.
10 mil?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. These child pedophiles, which these high-end ones are billionaires.
Yeah.
You give some dumb bitch $10 million to go on live TV, you probably pay $10 million a year for children.
Yeah.
And dispose of them.
Yep.
That's the sad. Not only do they do unspeakable horrors to our children, they throw them out like trash when they're done.
Like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah, you're too old now, or I've already destroyed you.
Yep.
I fucking ruined you beyond belief.
This one doesn't stop crying. I don't know.
Unspeakable horrors.
Yeah.
You know, we're allowing this to occur in our world. It's a global problem, too. We have a global problem with the pandemic, and we're all shitting ourselves over 100,000 people dying. Meanwhile, let's see how many kids went missing in the United States last year. $421,000 kids last year.
Wow, according to the FBI, and that's just
That's a year.
That's
Right here, look, 2018.
Yeah.
424,000 in 2018. So we're almost averaging 500,000 children a year in the United States alone.
That's crazy. That's crazy facts. Every year, 460,000 children.
Yet we're concerned that 100,000 people are going to die because of coronavirus.
But our kids are just.
But 500,000 children go missing a year. And those kids aren't coming back.
Yeah. Gone.
You rarely hear of kids, and usually they're an adult and they find out, oh shit, this person isn't my real dad.
Yeah.
This man who's been molesting me,
Yeah.
or these people that took me because they couldn't have children, they're not my real parents.
Yeah.
It's usually because they're adults.
Yep.
You never find these kids. You're never going to find these kids again. And if there wasn't a big market for it, this wouldn't happen. If it was a small market, maybe 1,000 kids go missing in the United States. 421 million or 421,000. Yeah, crazy. That's why they're so cheap.
Yeah.
$10,000. If someone would have told me it was $10,000 to buy a child, I would have been like, that doesn't seem like that much.
Yeah. That's a little bit.
It doesn't.
Yeah. Buy a whole kid.
I would have thought it would have been. You can buy a tiger for $2,000 from Tiger King.
Yeah.
You could have.
Yeah, could have back in the day.
But a child only $10,000. I would have been like, there's no way. They got to be worth more than that.
Yeah.
No, because there's so many.
Yep.
They're stealing so many, and then they throw them away like trash.
Yep.
Anything that is bought in this amount of quantity is thrown out like trash.
You go to one guy selling them, he's like, yeah, 15 grand. Oh, I can go next guy for fucking 10 grand.
Yeah, how many iPhones do you think are sold a year?
Yeah.
You know, I bet you it's something similar in the United States. How? $36 million. You're only able to sell that many things because people are throwing away the old one.
The old one, yeah.
If an iPhone lasted 10 years, there would not be 36 million iPhones sold a year.
If it lasts forever.
And so if there was a small market for children, there wouldn't be 460,000 a year going missing, and they wouldn't be only $10,000.
Yeah.
That $10,000 is a risk fee.
Yeah.
It's a risk fee. That's why an iPhone is $1,000. A brand new iPhone is $1,000, and a child is $10,000 because there's no risk in selling an iPhone. There is all the risk in selling a child.
Exactly.
So that's the only reason they're $10,000.
Yeah.
If it was no risk, they'd be $1,000.
$1,000 over the counter.
What would just be a transfer fee, transportation fee? Crazy. We have all these blinders up to it, and anytime these pedophiles that are buying these children have the money to fund distractions.
Yeah, exactly.
Every time the heat's going to come on them, how much?
$1 million for this to happen.
What do you think the payout was on Epstein getting killed? 10 million?
Yeah, exactly.
Would you take $10 million to kill an inmate?
I would.
10 million? 10 million? I'd probably kill him too.
Especially he's already locked up.
He's already locked up. He's already a dead man. If I don't take the 10 mil, someone else is going to get paid 10 mil.
Exactly.
And then I'm probably going to get killed because I didn't take the offer.
No, yeah. And now you know about it.
Yeah.
So you know the secret. So they will kill you anyway.
They're probably going to kill you anyways.
Yeah. So you're like, okay, what y'all doing?
Might as well try to get 10 mil out of it. And for a billionaire, 10 million is pocket change. Pocket change.
Yep.
So there will always be distractions. It's up to us to fight through it.
Yeah.
We have to fight through it. We have to be the ones to say no. Like, even though Jada Pinkett was getting her brains fucked out by some rapper.
Like, why now? Like, why is this coming up?
Right after Maxwell gets arrested and right after, days after the Wayfair scandal.
Yeah.
And now no one's talking about the Wayfair scandal.
They're talking about Will Smith.
They're talking about Will Smith. And memes. Memes are probably the worst, the worst thing the worst distraction.
Yeah.
Everything serious gets turned into a meme.
Yep.
Everything. And I'm guilty of it too. I'm using fucking memes to tell people how I feel.
Yeah.
That's why I can't hold a girlfriend. They try to get serious with me and I send them fucking memes back, bro. That's how I communicate. People try to bring up serious like issues and I just send the memes back. Because that's how I communicate.
Yeah. Through laughter.
Yeah, and it
because it's everywhere. People go in this, so you're like, what is this about? They look it up. Oh, now they're attracted to it. Now they're like trying to figure out. And it just it's everywhere. He said, "Do memes. Come on now, memes, man."
It's all bad, you know, and we are the whole thing is thrown on sheep. We're the people that are woke or like the people that really are trying to expose it. They keep telling us don't be sheeps, and it's because we have become sheeps.
We are.
Because we have the government, the shepherd out there. He put walls around us to make us feel safe in this little pen. Yeah. He makes sure the wolves stay away. But what we don't realize is he's the real wolf.
Yeah, he is.
Because he's skinning us and profiting from the wool, and then he's butchering us and selling us for meat. Our children. But we think because we have these walls around us and we have this shepherd, we're safe. We're literally sheep. But we don't want to hear that. Just like white people don't want to hear about white privilege because it's an inflammatory word. If someone told you, Aaron, you're a fucking sheep, that's an inflammatory thing to say. That's an offensive thing to say. People take white privilege hearing that as an offense. And they can't just get past the emotion thing. Damn. That's how you improve as a person is say, shit, okay, even though I don't want to hear this, maybe there's a point to it. It's a truth. And white people don't want to admit the truth is that we have advantages that minorities don't have.
And they're like, no, we're the same. No, we get treated the same.
We're all the same. Or like in my case, I always took offense to it because I grew up in a poor neighborhood, growing up on welfare. So for people to say, oh, you have white privilege, I'm like, the fuck are you talking about, bro? I was living with cockroaches, bro. Like, how are you going to tell me I'm white privilege? But it is the truth. I don't got to worry about police interactions of dying. I don't. I've had pleasant experiences with police every time I got pulled over. You know, even the time I got arrested for being drunk as fucking public.
It was just kind of like,
I still had a good interaction, even though they were treating them like dickheads. I didn't fear for my life. I'm like, oh fuck, I'm going to jail. You know, I've never had a fear for my life with any police interaction. And for people don't want to hear, oh, you're sheep. It's the truth. We have been. I've been a fucking sheep. You know, I get heated up because, you know, people don't have the same political view as me, or I get fired up over people, all these idiots who think Biden is the answer, or that Bernie Sanders was the answer, or that Hillary Clinton was the answer. That pisses me off. Those dumb motherfuckers are not the answer. But that's not even. It's not even real. It's not real. Getting fired up over politics isn't real. What we should be getting fired up about is racial inequality, child trafficking. Those are real issues. Obviously, for 500,000 children being missing. How many? I want to know what's even scarier. That's just the U.S. How many worldwide?
Because it's
That's what's missing in the world. I'll bet you it's incalculable because other countries can't report it the way we do. Australia 20,000, Canada 45,000, Germany 100,000, India 96. Okay, I'll bet you I'll bet you that's wrong. I'll bet you. Russia 45,000, Spain 20,000, United Kingdom.
Wow.
Those are just major countries. We're not talking about Africa. We're not talking about Asia. There's no Asian country or African country listed there.
Wow, look at United Kingdom. United Kingdom's huge, though, isn't it?
Oh, no, it's a little island.
It is?
Yeah, let's look at one map. I'll show you.
112.
It's a little fucking island.
Wow.
No, I don't want to look at a freaking.
Kid map. The UK.
Come on. Okay, so.
This is England. Really? Damn. I already thought it was huge.
No, little island. And these motherfuckers have fought for years over that little island.
Yeah. Our land. Wow.
So, in that small ass little island, 100,000 people reported. You know, we're not talking about Africa. We're not talking about Asia.
Yeah, Asia.
Look at Russia. I mean, I'll bet you these numbers on Russia are wrong.
Yeah, some are not reported. For sure.
You know, and China has like 1.3 or 1.6 billion people in it. How bad do you think they are? We don't have that many people, and we have 500,000 kids going missing. A year.
Man.
A year.
That's crazy.
Yeah, we're talking about Will Smith and Jada Pinkett getting fucking entangled. We're talking about every latest Kardashian drama.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And then when liberal aligned people get exposed for it, like Harvey Weinstein got blasted, and he's like this movie producer.
Mm-hmm.
He got blasted for sexually assaulting, which really sexual assault is a nice way to say rape.
Yeah, rape. Yeah,
he raped women,
yeah.
And Michelle Obama like gave him this mad shout out at this dinner. She's like, "Oh, Harvey's the best motherfucker, you know, close friend, love Harvey Weinstein," and the asshole was raping women the whole time. But you don't hear that on the news. We hear about Donald Trump sleeping with Stormy Daniels, consensual. I mean, he probably paid her.
Yeah, he probably did.
But consensual, right? I mean, prostitution's legal in Nevada.
Yeah, she agreed to it.
So we're okay with it in one state. We're not okay with our president doing it. We want to call him out. Meanwhile, all these liberal Clintons are tied up with Harvey Weinstein, you know, and but because they align with them, and Harvey Weinstein fucking shook hands with the Obamas and fucking sucked, you know, got his dick sucked with Clinton, you know. They don't want to call him out, you know. Oh, I had to have his back. He had my back.
Yeah.
No, motherfucker.
Yeah.
He was a piece of shit.
Drop his ass.
Call him out. There's nothing wrong with calling out your friends. If I found out you were doing something, I'd call you out too. Just like I would expect you to do the same to me.
Yeah. Like, oh no, this dude.
Like, I'm not cool with David. He was doing shit he shouldn't have been doing. Yeah. Like, not cool. And if I ever came trying to be, you'd be like, no, fuck you, bro. Get the fuck away from me. Because y'all are. Yep. They all are. And if Maxwell don't get suicided, she's gonna out all these people.
Yeah.
You know, she's on suicide watch already. You know why?
Man.
She knows, she has to know in her position that she can use her information, her knowledge to get out of that situation. She might be able to get out of it with like 5 years jail time at worst.
Yeah.
If she gives up all these people.
Everything.
Just like Epstein he wouldn't have gotten life. You know, he would have got like 25 years with a chance of parole for giving up people. You know, even though he was probably one of the world's biggest child sex traffickers. You know, like taking people in their teens or kids. It was literally a fantasy island.
Yeah.
You know, it was, what do you want? I'll make sure it's there.
Yeah. Just pay me the right price.
You know,
pay me the right price. You're all good.
Look,
Trump. Yep.
Trump.
He's in there.
Look, Trump again.
Yep.
Look, Ivanka she was still good back in the day. She looked good. Okay. Elon Musk with Maxwell.
Yeah.
Now, I think Elon Musk is a real one.
Yeah, for sure.
But if it came out,
I hope it.
But if it came out that he was too, fuck him, bro. I saw a funny meme the other day. It was, what if Elon Musk is an alien just trying to get home? He's doing like fucking SpaceX and shit, making Tesla. He's like, I'm getting home. He's like, it might mean that I have to.
I'm getting home.
So this is saying Jeffrey Epstein staffers with Clinton. I don't know who's this? Prince Andrew, who's the biggest piece of shit ever.
Yeah.
Bill Gates, who is a shady motherfucker.
Already.
Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah. I mean, like, all these people have to at least be in a circle of talk. Like, that one picture with Andrew, they look like they're talking about it. Like, I want the girl.
Yeah, he's like, I want like 4 or 5 at least 12-year-olds, maybe like 6 or 7 15-year-olds. You know, a crazy thing that I saw was a girl who had been Epstein's. She had been one of his sex slaves at one point. So he had gotten her somehow and was using her, letting all these dudes run through her. She ended up turning into one of his recruiters. She went out getting these other young women to come to this island.
After a while, it's programming in your head. Like, this
It's what do they call it? Stockholm syndrome. Yeah. You sympathize with your abductors.
Yeah.
You're like, well, they take care of me, and You know, they didn't kill me. They could have killed me.
Good girl.
You know? I mean, the amount of people...
And it's just normal and like, oh yeah, this girl, yeah, you just adapt to it. Yeah.
And if I find out that, if it comes out that Donald Trump was a part of that, I hope they burn his ass too. Yeah. I hope he goes to jail just like all these other motherfuckers do. You know, or at a minimum, they lose their positions of power. Yeah. Okay, it happened on international waters. We can't charge them. Then get them out of their jobs.
Yeah.
They have no business leading when they are living that second life. Man. And unfortunately, a lot of these people have built their riches, especially white people, on this shit. Yep. You know, Nick, I don't agree with the things Nick Cannon said recently. I don't know if you saw him.
Yeah, he put out, what did he put out?
So he went on a podcast too, like some radio show, and and there's like there's 3 things that he said that were.
I see something about that, the suicidal thought thing.
So he essentially said that white people have gotten everything they've gotten because they have no other like skills, no other ways of doing it. That they have gotten everything from raping and murdering and stealing, and then he made some other. He said that white people are the true savages.
Yeah, that's what
and again, a blanket, like he made this blanket statement about all white people. And the sad truth is, the majority of white people were not plantation owners.
Yeah.
I know I didn't come from no fucking plantation owners, and I'm sure there are. You know, Donald Trump was born with a fucking silver spoon in his mouth. His kids were born in a silver spoon in their mouth. You know, so they keep saying all white people are this, all white people are this, but it's not the truth.
That's what I think. Just like all bad cops, no, there's some, but it's not all.
Right, and what Nick Cannon said, there was some truth to it.
Yeah.
That some white people have these people who are descendants from plantation owners. Yeah. We don't want to do anything to them. We want taxpayers to pay reparations. Mm-hmm. Why are we not finding? Okay, you are a direct descendant of a slave owner, and you now have this company that's worth $1 billion. Why are they not forced to pay reparations?
Yeah.
Why is it that me, as I'm not a descendant of a slave owner. I'm Mexican, Irish, and whatever European shit I got.
Yeah.
You know, my grandpa's parents came over from England. Like, after all the Revolutionary War and shit. They came in when Ellis Island was like the main hub of people coming in. But yet, I'm supposed to pay taxes, and that tax money go to reparations. Yeah. Why are we not going after the true problem? These people who still to this day are profiting off of what their great-great-great-grandparents did. Yeah. You know? Why are we not going after areas that profited from slaves? Yeah, you know, places like North Carolina and Alabama
made the money off of it.
That made the money are still profiting off of it. You know, these colleges that have accepted huge donations from, at the time when they took the donations from former slave traders. You know, there are some of these statues that are getting torn down. They were former slave traders. Yeah. They tore down a statue in England that was a former slave trader. How in 2020 do we have statues up of slave traders? Yeah. Yet the finger kept getting pointed at every single white person, and not at the true problem, which is the people that are still benefiting from what happened back then. And essentially, we have modern day slavery, which in my opinion is minimum wage.
Yeah, exactly.
You cannot live on minimum wage. You cannot. You can't even live off 2 minimum wage jobs.
Everything gets more expensive and shit.
The cost of living keeps going up, and the minimum wage and the cost. It's too small, and you hear older people, Social Security only gets raised 25%, but the cost of living went up 1%, or 0.25%, and it went up 1% the cost of living.
Yeah, how's that helping? You can't.
But meanwhile, we're sending billions of dollars to Ukraine, billions of dollars to these other countries. Tell me how $1 billion couldn't be distributed among people making less than $20,000 a year.
Yeah. And help them out. Man.
You know, why wasn't
the person that's paying taxes that's making
why was the stimulus money that came out, why was it given to anyone who made over $60,000 a year?
Yeah.
Anyone who makes over $60,000 a year didn't need that stimulus.
Yeah.
It was the people with minimum wage jobs that no longer have those jobs.
Exactly.
You know?
And it's great to my old boss too, he's making buku money. He's all worried about I need my stimulus. Where's my stimulus? I'm like, you making all this, what, do you even fucking care about it?
Yeah.
Making crazy money.
Crazy.
Where's my stimulus? My stimulus. I'm like, God, come on, guy. Yeah, and he's telling us like he has money so I should save this and that. And you care about $1,200?
Yeah.
No, because it's mine.
Thing is, there's a reason. There's two types of people, in my opinion, when you start getting to like middle class, and even some, you see it in some poor people. And you probably see it in all walks of life, but there's other two types of people when they get money. They either hoard it, and they you go out, they're never going to offer to pay for your shit.
Yeah.
And then you have the people that will spend their last dime on their friend, on their homie. And then you start working your way up, and people like him who have hoarded that money, the reason why they have all that money, they have all the nice things, is because they don't do nothing for their homies. Yeah, they hoard all their money. They will only buy generic shit. They're the type of people that if their coupon won't scan, that he's fucking ripping that cashier a new one.
What do you mean?
Even though he doesn't need 10 cents off that can of beans. You know?
$400 in his pocket.
But that's how those people stay rich. And there's a reason why rich people stay rich. There's people who win the lottery, and most of the time they're broke within a year.
Yeah,
because they spend it on their friends, their family, you know? Whereas if Donald Trump gets $1 million, you think he's giving it to anyone? Yeah. Fuck no. That shit's going in his bank account to accrue interest. Yeah. You know?
I'm keeping that. It's crazy.
That's why the lottery is poor people tax. Yeah. Because even if you win it, you're not going to keep it.
You're going to put it back out there.
You're going to go buy all your homies brand new cars. You're going to be broke within a year.
Yep. You're going to put it right back out there to where it came.
That's why all these people who take the lump sum up front, stupid.
That's why sometimes they say it's kind of rigged. They kind of pick the person. I heard some theories about they kind of pick the person to win.
It wouldn't surprise me, but to me that seems like a hard thing to manage.
It is.
Because how do you know when? Because the tickets, when you buy it, it's totally anonymous.
Yeah, but
unless
like
they're
a family, they give them a ticket or whatever. Like that person who wins it.
Oh, they know that it's inside.
Yeah. So they know it's like, I'm about to.
But I've heard too many stories of like people who are like straight broke.
Money.
And then within a year they're like back to being broke, homeless.
That's why it's like for the army, like, okay, we're gonna give you $1 million.
Maybe don't say nothing.
Yeah, don't say nothing. It's just,
if you say anything, we'll kill you.
Yeah, exactly. It's just gonna be off the lottery. Just
yeah.
You won the lottery. That's all it is. You have this interview on news. They say, okay, I'm doing it.
Why not? Life-changing money.
He just gave all the money back to us.
Yeah. Yep. And all these people who like take the lump sum, you lose like 40% of it right there.
Yeah.
Whereas if you were to take the payout over 10 years, you got money for 10 years. There's no way, like $100 million, I'll take $10 million a year for 10 years.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going to take 60 million when I could have $100 million over 10 years. And that way I don't have to worry about blowing it all in the first year and then being broke. Exactly. You know, they don't realize they're going to have to pay taxes on that shit.
And
so they don't, and
just give it all to me now.
And they spend it all, and then the next year they owe $100,000 in taxes they can't pay.
They can't pay it. They're like, oh shit.
And now they're homeless.
Yep.
Because the what is it? What the Treasury or whatever, or what? Not the Treasury, the one that audits you. The IRS.
The IRS.
IRS comes and takes your home away.
Yeah. Stumbling through the doors. You owe me money.
You owe us money, so we're taking your house.
Yep. That should do. Oh wait, give me that card too.
Yeah, this whole fucking system's broken, and the sad part is, it's still the best country in the world.
Yep.
Everyone wants to come here.
America.
Even other good countries like England.
Yeah.
Those motherfuckers want to come over here. They can say whatever they want. Oh, the U.S. is shit. Gordon Ramsay. Oh, this is shit. Then why are you over here, Gordon Ramsay? Why do you have like a restaurant chain that litters the United States?
Yeah. This is shit.
You know, the United States is the greatest country to ever exist.
Yep.
And it's still shit. It's still broken. Yep. And the sad part is it didn't have to be that way. Yep. If our founding fathers saw the way that our country was being ran right now, you know, this is exactly what they wanted to fight against. Yep. You know, taxation without representation.
Yep.
We're the people representing us for the taxes are the people that profit off of us paying more taxes. And they don't give a shit. It's not coming out of their money. It's not coming out of their paycheck, fixing shit, fixing their problems. Yeah. Who do you think pays for every payoff when these politicians get sex scandals and shit?
All that shit, yeah.
Who do you think pays their lawyer fees? Who do you think pays the settlement?
Yep.
Taxpayer money. Comes out of taxpayer money. The government has to pay that.
All of us.
Meanwhile, they're literally raping all of us.
Yep.
We're all being raped by this fucking government. And we're allowing it.
Yep. Sheep, like you said. Fucking sheep.
We have been. We're all guilty of it. And we're all guilty of blowing off the people trying to help and raise awareness. Anonymous is considered a fucking hippie terrorist organization, and they're the only people with the balls to put this shit out there, knowing full well. Do you know how many people from Anonymous have been arrested for treason?
Yeah.
Edward Snowden exposed the Obama administration for spying on American people. He proved it. He released out there all the documents supporting it. And he is now wanted in the United States for treason. Wow. For telling the American people the government was doing something illegal. And now he's wanted for treason. Man. He's hiding out in Russia right now because it's the only safe place for him.
Yeah.
If he comes back to the United States, he's in jail for the rest of his life and he's dead. He's killed. He'll get suicided. For telling the truth.
And that shit you see on movies. Like I said, this shit comes from somewhere.
Where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah, exactly.
This Wayfair thing, maybe Wayfair was unaware of it, that there was someone working within Wayfair that was doing it. But there's still something going on there. There's no way that story is 100% false. Yeah. There's no way. There's always truth to some of this shit. Yeah, there's something real there.
What a podcast. We started with the UFC and now
we didn't even get through the UFC. We didn't even get to Gaslam or the main event. But it was I've been waiting to talk about this shit until we could get together because it's so hard talking about this stuff by yourself, and it gets awkward because it's damn, am I getting soapboxy here? Yeah, is everyone gonna think I'm crazy? But
now this is what we're crazy.
Well, we are.
They're like, you're talking about.
This is a fucking conspiracy theory podcast now.
Yeah.
Next week we'll talk about aliens.
Yeah,
which there are fucking aliens out there. We'll talk about that another podcast, but there are aliens out there.
I think so.
There's no way.
There's another planet with living.
There has to be. Because if let's say there is a God.
Yeah.
Because there's two lines of thinking. There's a God. For the most part, there's a God and there's not a God.
In their science.
If there is a God, why would he create an entire universe to only put us here? Yeah. In his almighty wisdom, he could have made one planet, one solar system, one sun. What are the need for all these other 7 planets in our solar system?
And that's all we know of.
That's all we know of. I mean, there are planets and solar system galaxies farther than we can even imagine.
Yep.
There's no way we're the only people here. There's no way in his infinite wisdom he would have created this masterpiece. Why would you build a diorama of a city if you were only going to put one house, little tiny house in this one corner?
Yeah.
A microscopic house in this corner of the table. Why? Now let's say the other version, there's no God. And that we happen because of science, creationism. Or not creationism, but science. How is there all this real estate and we're the only ones? There's no way. And with that entire galaxy, what are the chances that we're the most advanced? Very slim. Yeah. What if other worlds have...
world reaches us before we can reach them?
What about another world where there's no races? They're all one race. Think about how much more you get accomplished when there's no race problems. We right now would be worlds ahead. Think about it, all the people that have died that could have produced something and they didn't have to die. Yeah. Imagine if Albert Einstein or Thomas Jefferson or any of these famous people that invented things, think about if they had died, how different our world would be. Yeah. It still would have happened. Someone still would have invented electricity or someone still would have, it would have been way farther. You know? And so think about a world where people don't die unless it's something out of everyone's control. Cancer, natural age, birth defect, an accident. Think about a world where only people die when it's unavoidable. How much further you could get along.
Yeah.
Think about how many geniuses have died because of abortion. Think about a world where people don't get aborted. How many geniuses have we aborted? Yeah. I'm not going to take a stance on abortion. I think that there's something on both sides of that. I think that there's like everything that there are out there. You know, I don't believe that a woman who's raped shouldn't. I think that she has a right to choose what to do with that. I think she has a right to choose that. I know there's people who don't.
Yeah.
They think that all abortion is wrong. I think there's some women who there's a health risk they could die if they don't abort the baby, and I think that that's another but think about how many geniuses we've aborted, whether it was something where the woman just didn't want it or whether it was these outlying circumstances. How many geniuses have we, we might have aborted the person who cured cancer. We might have aborted the person that would have cured coronavirus a week after.
Yeah. Oh, I know.
Yeah. Think about how many autistic people are genius trapped inside that problem.
That problem, yeah, exactly.
Because they usually are.
Yeah.
They usually are geniuses. They just can't let it out. They're trapped in their own brain. So think about those other worlds. They probably cured autism, and now those people with autism are geniuses, and they're now. Think about look how closely these geniuses who go crazy because of how smart they are and autistic people. Think about how close that relationship is. So think of a world where, because everyone gets along, that they've cured people who've lost their mind, mental health.
What if that other world reaches us?
What if they've already reached us?
And there's.
What if they're amongst us? What if they're people that look like you and I? What if they've invented invisibility, and they're just watching us? And they're like, these people are fucked.
What the fuck? I'm going back home.
I'm going back home. I would, because any alien who came to our world would not be safe.
Yeah.
People would want it dead.
They'd be like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah. They'd be like, they're here to take our jobs.
Or they look like us, and their mind is so advanced. We're like, this guy is.
What if Elon Musk is an alien trying to get home?
Yeah, like you said.
He sure seems fucking not human like to me. You've heard him talk. He don't sound like a human. He don't sound like a human.
Yeah. He's just like.
Look at Adam Gase. The Adam Gase interview.
Man. What if he's just an alien trying to get home? Oh yeah.
I've showed you this before, and we talked about drugs. What if Adam Gase is a fucking alien? What if an alien crawled up inside him?
He might be. Yeah, he's certified alien. He's certified alien for sure. Wow. Look at that. He's like, where are my planets?
One of the guys I worked with over at Alutic, him and I talked about aliens, and he talked about no, this isn't it. He talked to me about these identical statues that would have been built around the time of the pyramids in Egypt. And they're identical on either side of this river. Identical. Perfect. Now tell me how back in those days of the pyramid that people could have made those. The Sphinx. Yeah. People, someone made that?
Yeah.
He says, think about people being obsessed with gold. And even now today, what is everything? Everything's gold plated. It's a better electric conductor. Yeah. He said, what if aliens came to this earth back in those times and told these people, listen, I'll build you these statues? Because pharaohs and leaders were very vain. They wanted something left behind. They wanted statues and structures. So everyone would remember, oh yeah, the pharaoh blah, blah, blah built that. That's his lasting legacy. And he said, what if these aliens fed into their vanity and built them these statues? In return, you find me gold, you get me gold. They get the gold, they fix their ships, they go back home. Yeah. Now these people are left there thinking gold's valuable. These aliens wanted gold. So now all these people are the Aztecs were obsessed with gold. The Egyptians obsessed with gold. Everyone is obsessed with gold. And what are these people? What is all over Egyptian walls? men with animal faces.
Yeah.
So how would these aliens who are that far advanced, how would they present themselves to humans in a way that's understandable? A human with an animal head. They'd be like, that's how they would present themselves to us. They wouldn't want to come out these little green aliens. They'd scare them.
Yeah.
But they'd come out as a man with an animal head. And so that's why they worship these gods. And think about this, even to a lesser extent. There was this island over on the Pacific, like the Philippines, Japan area. There was this island that had never seen people. They'd never seen other people outside this island. Well, one day, an airplane, it'd been this long, an airplane flew over the island. And they were like, what? And this island, this plane saw these people like, oh shit, there's people living there. So they report back. This is probably like the 40s or 50s, something like that. And so they're like, well, these people have not had any contact. We should make sure they're okay.
Yeah.
So the next time a plane flew over, they dropped this crate that had supplies in there.
Yeah.
Food, supplies. And they're like, holy shit, this metal bird, it's a god. They built a thing for this iron bird. Wow. This metal bird. They worshipped the metal bird because it brought them supplies. It brought them food. So why did Egyptians draw pictures of these gigantic men with animal faces or pharaoh heads?
Yeah, exactly.
Where did that come from?
Yeah.
Why did Asians come up with these crazy dragons and worship these different animals and the year of the dragon, the year of the serpent? They had to have seen these things somewhere, right?
Man.
And maybe early Christians saw Jesus or God, or heard maybe these people that heard God really did hear something, and it was aliens.
Yeah, exactly.
And the pyramids, it's really hard to explain how the pyramids were built because it was either built by hundreds of thousands of slaves who died in the process doing it, or aliens.
Aliens came with
With technology.
Probably not as advanced, but still came with some shit that
Just fucking took the stones, cut them down. How do you describe crop circles?
Yeah.
Perfect. There's no way a human could do it.
Yeah.
And it all makes sense. Why they would how the statues were built, how these monuments were built, how gold became this, how gold is shiny, but there's a lot of other shiny things too.
Yeah, exactly.
They could have obsessed over anything else.
But why gold?
But why gold? Why diamonds?
Yeah.
They're talking about two of things that play a huge part in technology.
Yep.
Crazy
theories.
And I do believe there's other life out there, and I do believe they've been here, and I do believe
they might still be here.
They might still be here, or they might have booked it and said, "Fuck these people, we'll come check on them in 100 years.
Yeah.
Let's see where they're at in 100 years
exactly.
when they're done with this race shit.
Yeah.
When they're done allowing the color of their skin to divide them.
Yeah. They're bringing it again. We're going back home.
Yeah.
We'll come back when they're ready.
And think about how long man's been around for, 100,000 years, right? If you believe in science, we've been here for hundreds of thousands of years. But why is it that we've only started technologically advancing in the last 220 years?
And like this quick too.
Like that.
Boom. It just clicked.
When was the Model T? When did the Model T come out?
What, 40s? 30? No? 30, 20s?
No, earlier than that.
No.
Oh, yes.
Model T?
Yes. Or the Model A, I mean.
Model A was way, that was like
1903. We have been making cars for 117 years. That is it.
But now we got Tesla.
And now we're seeing a technology, and there's this theory out there, not a theory, but there's not like a law, but there's a thing out there that says every 2 to 4 years technology doubles.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a proven fact that we double in technology every 2 to 4 years. So what we were capable of 2 to 4 years ago is more.
Yeah.
This is both. They asked, is this a sports or conspiracy podcast? It's both. We started with UFC, and we've quickly spiraled out of control into a conspiracy podcast. I promise this will not be every week. This is just because we haven't done this in months.
Yeah.
But every 2 to 4 years, we're doubling technology.
Yeah.
But why is it that like in the 1800s is when we had the industrial boom?
Exactly. Yeah. And then
That right there. So we've only really been technologically advanced for about 200 years. But we had thousands of years, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years before that, where there was nothing. We were literally, we carved a stone into a wheel.
Yeah.
You know, and we invented carriages, and we built homes, but we didn't start making mills and making machinery until the 1800s.
Yeah.
And how?
Yeah.
Maybe a push in the right direction. Maybe people stranded here, stranded on Earth.
Like, we need to get out of here.
Yeah, you know.
Man, just thinking about the theories.
Oh, it's crazy, and you could, and there's people out there that lose their mind over this stuff.
Yeah.
You know, there's that Beautiful Mind. He lost that movie, The Beautiful Mind. He like legit just lost his mind because he thought that so much stuff was going on that he just lost control. And the human mind is so fragile.
Yeah.
You know,
It
only takes a little bit to push someone over the edge, or they could be fine one day, and next thing they've got schizophrenia or any number of mental health problems.
Over something that just makes it tick.
Yeah, like just something one day they like start hearing voices.
Yep. And they're like,
you know, and so for people who aren't even going down the rabbit hole to start suffering from mental health problems, then you start getting these people who are genius level, and they literally drive themselves crazy with that knowledge.
Just from living in their head.
Yeah.
Living in their head.
You know, and you have people that do drugs, especially like psychedelics, and when they're done, they're like, they understand the meaning of life. They kill themselves. Yeah. Because they finally get it. Yeah. You know, there's that fragile line that if it gets crossed, it is the biggest weapon you have against yourself. Yep. That's why so many people think themselves into medical conditions. Yeah. You know, they think themselves into heart attacks. Yep. They think themselves into death. You know, there's people who have survived tying sports and conspiracy. Have you guys ready into the 85 NBA draft being rigged conspiracy theory? Not about the 85 draft, but the Anthony Davis draft. Conspiracy. Yeah, so I don't know about the 85 draft, but there was the Anthony Davis draft where New Orleans was up for sale, and they magically ended up with the number 1 draft pick. Yeah. And it was behind closed doors. Yeah. It wasn't televised. Yeah. The NBA came out and said, "Oh yeah, the New Orleans at the time, New Orleans Hornets got the number 1 draft pick." And I think they had a pretty low chance at that time to even get that pick. And so the big thought was that the NBA stepped in. They wanted to make that franchise more valuable because at the time, the league owned the Hornets. So they wanted to make it as profitable as possible. That's why they blocked the Chris Paul trade to L.A. Chris Paul was going to go to L.A., and it was going to be prime Chris Paul with Kobe Bryant, like who was still in his prime at that time. So it would have been Chris Paul, Kobe Bryant, and Dwight Howard because they eventually got Dwight Howard. They had deals in place to get Chris Paul and Dwight Howard, who were both in their primes. And they blocked Chris Paul from going to L.A., but approved him going to the Clippers because is 85. Who was that? Because you said cold, the frozen envelope, and that rang a bell. Oh, the Patrick Ewing one. I read an article about it. I didn't read too much into it. It was kind of a short article. But I remember reading about that. And funnily enough, David Stern is involved in that one. He was also involved with the Hornets getting the number 1 draft pick in the Anthony Davis trade. You want to talk about some Illuminati shit? David Stern has been was working the NBA for a long fucking time. including far out speculation involving everything from dry ice to X-ray glasses. So what was it he picked? David Stern picked out an envelope, not knowing which one it was going to be. Believe Commissioner David Stern and the NBA rigged the lottery so the New York Knicks would get it.
Wow.
Whichever team picked them. The Knicks were desperate center, point theories. I will have to read more into that.
Yeah. Look that one up.
Oh, and I definitely believe it. I believe David Stern did fix the lottery on the Anthony Davis trade. Or the thing, and you look at it here because they wanted to make that team as profitable as possible. So they got all those assets in the Chris Paul trade because they weren't going to sign Chris Paul. They didn't want to take on any more financial obligations because that would cut into what all the owners were going to make because all the owners owned that one team. So they're all going to split it. And they say in this article right here that they wanted the Knicks to be relevant, which they do. Everyone wants the Knicks to be relevant right now. That's why I'm really surprised the Knicks didn't get the number 1 overall pick in this last draft and got Zion Williamson.
Yeah.
So I definitely believe in that. Like I would love to read more into that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll bet you there's a documentary out there too, or at least some like hour and a half, thing on it. Because I do believe that stuff exists. I don't think it's fair if I'm the team that should have won the number 1 pick.
Exactly.
I'm pissed. And it is out there, and I get it, but it's not fair. And if exposed, those people should lose their job. Now it's too late now, obviously to do anything about David Stern. He's not even with us anymore. But I'm surprised more of it doesn't happen. I'm surprised this last year the Knicks didn't win the draft to get Zion Williamson because they desperately need the Knicks to be relevant right now. That's a huge market. New York is one of the biggest sports market. They need that franchise to be relevant. But I spoke about the Knicks in 3 podcasts ago, is the first thing they have to do is get James Dolan out of there. You have to get that owner out of there, or else that franchise will continue to be irrelevant. No free agents will want to go there. James Dolan being the owner cost them KD and Kyrie. Why would you go to the Nets when they're the little brother to the Knicks?
Yeah.
If you're trying to start your own brand and really anyone whoever wins the next NBA championship for the Knicks will get a statue built for them.
Yeah, for sure.
So
For sure.
that's never going to happen with James Dolan owning that team. He kicked out Charles Oakley, who's a legend there. Kicked him out, all because Charles Oakley was critical of him.
Yeah.
He said, he was critical of him, and James Dolan's like, nah, get this fucker out of here.
I don't want him.
Yeah, and how do you kick out one of your oldest legends?
Yeah.
You don't want to hear it, then go back up to your skybox.
Yeah.
There's a lot of crazy sports stories out there, man. There's some like pitchers from back in the day. I heard of this guy. I just saw it the other day, and it was like a known did you know? And he had pitched a game. He had done LSD because he didn't know he was pitching. He didn't think he was pitching that day, so he took LSD. And coach was like, "Hey, you're pitching today," and he went out and threw like a no hitter on LSD. Yeah. There was Dennis Oil Can Boyd had like a crack pipe in his hat at most times. Would go down in the dugout, smoke crack, go back out. Yeah. Yeah, there's some crazy sport, but those little greenies back in the day, truck drivers, they're like little meth pills. Those things, they used to have bowls of them at baseball stadiums. So guys would show up in the clubhouse, pop a couple greenies, go out, fucking, light up. They're hyped up on fucking meth essentially and doing crazy things. But all right, well, it's getting a little late. Almost 3 hour. It was a 3 hour podcast. I knew this was going to happen, but this is what I had planned for the podcast. I knew we'd be doing a couple hours. Yeah. The last time, the only reason we cut it because it got too late, just like this time. But we'll upload this to YouTube and Spotify, and then we'll see next week. There'll be a podcast, but we're kind of playing it week to week to see what everyone's plans are. Exactly. So, as always, yeah, handicap. And as always, just remember, everybody, we're in this together.